Well, hello, and welcome back to another podcast of Off the Rails with the Stile Boys. What's up, my man?
What's going on? That's us, the Stile Boyz.
There we are. I be Travis.
And I be Mitch every day.
Every day, all day. Unless my wife's calling me, then I'm usually being called by another name.
Yeah. Hey, G-rated podcast.
That's right. We're going to try to keep it clean.
We gotta keep it clean.
Well, man, it's been a fun week. I know we've got a few things to recap, but I want to hit something real quick kind of off the start before we kind of go into the week recaps. We've got 2 points of business that we need to take care of, and I thought we should take care of them on the air.
Let's do it.
First point of business is we need an email address.
We do.
We need an email address. We at the point of recording this, we are in we're in season 1. Let's don't put the cart in front of the horse. We're in season 1. This is the 6th episode. But we've got things finalized, and we want to be able to give you guys an email address to submit questions and comments, etc. You know, your audio sucks, or Travis, your hats are stupid, or whatever you want to tell us. You know, we want a way to get some feedback from you.
Yep.
I think I had 3 ideas. I think 2 of them are pretty terrible, but I had them, so I wrote them down. And I was going to see if you had anything else, or if we wanted to ponder for a minute. So I had Rip Cut at at thestyleboys.com. We're at the Stile Boys. That's somebody else owns Off the Rails, so we couldn't do that. But we own at the Stile Boys. So Ripcut at thestyleboys.com, base cabinet, like home base cabinet at thestyleboys.com. And then much to my wife's chagrin, at about 4 o'clock in the morning, I popped out of the bed and she's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I got an email address I got to write down," which was offcuts at thestyleboys.com.
I might as well just leave.
I mean,
just leave.
Does that one work? Does that?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like offcuts it's right up our alley, right?
Yeah. It's immediately, I like it.
Yeah, no question.
No question.
Like we've hit it.
Yeah.
We've hit it.
We're there.
Everybody agrees. Everybody sounds like everybody out there agrees.
Yeah.
That we're going to go with that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's enough, guys. That's enough. We like it too. Thank you. Calm down out there. Calm down out there. I get it. All right. That was as corny as it possibly could get right there. I guess I have found some sound effects, and I'm trying to figure out a way to incorporate them in.
Look, y'all, I did what I could with the sound effects, but I told him, I said, "Listen, just put them in there, man. Put them in there. Just feel like rolling one, roll it."
So we're going to do offcuts. Is that what we're at?
Easy to remember. Man, do we have plenty of offcuts?
Right. I mean, I think we've talked about that a lot too. We've talked about, scrap and offcuts and, that kind of thing. So I think so far, I feel like that just fits into the niche of what we've been talking about.
The only difference is these offcuts we'll probably keep.
This is true. Well,
yeah.
Some of them we'll probably want to throw away as well. All right. So offcuts at thestyleboys.com, and that is boys with a Z, BOYZ, as I keep having to be reminded, because I think I messed that up yesterday on some admin stuff we were working on.
No, that wasn't it.
That wasn't my typo?
Nope.
Okay.
It was off the rails with the Stile Boys.
Oh, was it?
T in it. Yeah. They were like, I don't know who these jokers are, but that's not who I'm looking for. Skip.
Yeah. Well, so we got our artwork back. So that's kind of the last little admin piece I wanted to talk about was we got our artwork back, and man, were we were stoked. I think is to say the least, right?
Yeah, I started printing them off immediately.
We had one little change we had to make, and they came back with that change in about a minute and a half. They spelled boys with an S instead of with a Z.
Everybody knows it needs to have a Z in it.
Right. I mean,
like, how do they not know that?
That's just our little funky way of being different. So we got our cover work back, and I am actually in the middle of actually editing episode 1, while we're recording episode 6. So it'll be really cool that we're right on the corner of turning live at the point that we're recording this episode. So,
and I'm gonna
by the time you guys catch up, you'll kind of know where we were and how long it took to actually get from concept to live to having some episodes recorded. So kind of crazy.
It's been a minute, and I'm gonna back you up. The reason that we're recording episode 6, the reason episode 1 is not done yet is because there was no rush. We didn't have cover art. We didn't have anything. Right. And as these things kind of progressed, as we spent more time behind the mics, more time doing this, to me, that's the good time to go in and edit, because we kind of know the general feel of the podcast by now. So, back in episode 1, maybe what we need to take out and what we don't. And we're just talking pauses, maybe somebody coughed or something.
Yeah.
We don't
hopefully the audio's improved, because we've done some audio tweaks from 1 to 6. So hopefully the audio's improved. I know I kind of had to tweak a little something, so I had to re-record a little piece for episode 1, and trying to match my audio now with the audio from, there's a big difference on my end, and yours has got some variation too. Yeah. So hopefully that has tweaked out, and you haven't suffered through too many episodes at this point, and you're enjoying the audio, because we don't know what we're doing. We're just two good ones that decided to talk to each other and record it and put it out there for the world to listen to. So,
and the reason we talk about doing the podcast on the podcast is because it's a podcast about what we do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we do a podcast, so that is also going to filter in to the actual podcast.
Yeah, it's almost like Seinfeld. It is the show about nothing. I mean, that's kind of how this podcast has been. Part of our daily life is putting this podcast together.
Yep.
While trying to operate and run businesses, and so
you guys have to hear it,
right? But yeah, man. So very exciting times. Let's get into the week. I'll go first. I don't have a whole lot to go over. I do have a really funny story I wanted to share with you, though. I thought it was funny. So I'm at a customer's house this week doing an install. So the install was a fake fireplace, and then so we just built it off the wall a little bit, wrapped it in shiplap, threw an electric fireplace in it, threw a TV mount up, and then had some floating shelves on the outside of it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So this fireplace stood off the wall by about I think it was about 15 inches. Okay. That's outside dimensions. So inside has got some framing, obviously it's got some 2x4 framing in there to build it out. And as I'm building the floating shelves to go on the outside, I said, well, you know what? Instead of building the traditional floating shelf bracket that I normally do with the prongs that stick out and kind of go into it, because these shelves were only 28 inches long. They weren't very long and 12 inches deep. So they weren't drastically large. I said, I'll just screw them in from the inside of the fireplace, since it was actually going to touch. It wasn't a true free floater. Mm-hmm. The corner of the shelf was going to touch, the new fireplace and the back wall. I said, well, I'll just screw it in from the inside of the fireplace. Well, let's just say that I'm not a huge guy. I mean, I'm only 5'9". I run about 2. Well, after my episode of being sick the other week, I'm rolling about 206 right now. Usually I'm a little bit heavier. I've almost caught back up. 15 inches is not a whole lot of room to work in, is kind of the moral of this story. And I got myself twisted in there and dang near got myself stuck in this fake fireplace trying to run some screws.
What a way to go, man.
Oh, man.
In a fake fireplace.
Oh, it was terrible. And it reminded me of, so when I was doing remodels, I've only had this happen to me one other time. When I was doing remodels, I was crawling into a customer's crawl space, right? So I was going underneath the house, and it was kind of muddy, and it was a drop down. Like you went, as you entered in the crawl space, it was about a 2-foot drop down to the floor. So you're kind of crawling in, and then you put your hands down. You're kind of at this weird angle. Well, as I come in, my belt loop caught the hook on the top of the door opening that holds the door shut, right?
Yeah.
Yep. 15 minutes, a solid 15 minutes. I am suspended like Superman in the opening of this crawl space door. and I can't get off the hook. It's got like my actual belt loop, and I'm trying to twist and I'm trying to reach back and I can't get off of it. And finally, I'm like, hey, you know what? I will just break the belt loop, right? At this point, I don't care. I'll just let the belt loop rip. So I literally put my hands in the air, feet up in the air, and I look like Superman, and I'm suspended in the middle of this crawl space door. And hey, Duluth, you make a dang good belt loop. Let me just say, because I think I was about 240 at this time. I mean, I was a lot heavier then, and I couldn't break the belt loop. Could not bust
Man.
it. And finally, I was able to wiggle, and I come off of it, and got out of there. But here I was in that fireplace again, all twisted up. I was like, I am going to be stuck in here. Just the way I had my legs, it was weird. I don't even know how to describe how I was twisted in this thing like a pretzel, but slight panic attack.
Yeah, what if they would have came home like 6 hours later, you're still in there, and they're going, man, is everything okay? We kind of thought you'd be done by now. And you're like, well,
I think I could have, because I think I took my phone out of my pocket, because when I would do stuff like that, I would usually take my phone out because I didn't want to get wet or anything, because I was doing plumbing at the time, so I would take it out. But I usually had my earbuds in, but I had my watch on. I think my next step at some point in time would have been to call somebody, at least using my watch to phone a friend. I wouldn't have dialed anybody that had a camera or anything, but
you would have
phone
called
a buddy. And
you would have called the old man down the road that you knew didn't have a camera phone.
Yeah, right. Can you bring your flip phone and a pocket knife, please, so I can get off this hook?
Literally.
But that was about the extent of my week. I mean, I got that put in, and then I had a massive shop day on Friday. It was like the best thing ever. Just I didn't have anything else to do, so I spent the entire day cleaning.
Yeah.
Took care of a few of those stupid shop projects that you're like, oh, I need to do that. I've had a microwave sitting in the corner for 2.5 weeks, and I just needed a shelf or something to put it on. Guess what? I'm having hot lunch this week, buddy. So I got a little shelf. I made 2 little battery stands for my batteries to kind of like feed in and dispense out, because I get tired of them. I was just tired of them floating around and going, oh, is this one dead? Did this one charge? Because I got a bunch of those 2 amp DeWalt batteries, the 2 amp hours, that have no charging light or anything on them. So I have a bunch of those. So now I can, as I charge it, drop it in the top, pull another one out of the bottom. And I know my bottom one is always, it's feeding out kind of like a battery dispenser. So as I pull it out of the bottom, I'm always getting a fresh battery.
Yeah.
And then dropping another one in the top. Got those done. Got some trim around my cutting table, so that, because the table that I use my track saw on a lot, I use a piece of foam insulation, 1-inch piece of foam insulation. So I've wanted an L bracket on the table, because I keep pushing that foam insulation off, as I'm like flipping stuff around and it moves off. So on 2 sides of the table, I put like an L bracket to hold the foam, so I can't push it off of one corner. Got that done, got some new lights hung up, and then ordered about $600 worth of stupid Milwaukee pack out stuff, because I'm tired of, and I've looked at, I have the rigid boxes for moving tools and back and forth, and they just, they're just an open box. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, and I think you got some Hercules boxes, don't you?
Yeah, I got the Bauer boxes just as a starter set to see if the idea would work.
And the idea is good, right? I like the idea, but what they are is they're essentially rolling. I don't want to say toolboxes, because toolboxes, it gives some idea that there's an organization capability to them, and there's really not. They're really just a box that you just drop all your stuff in. Well, Milwaukee is the only one that has a drawer system.
Yep.
So that's what I bought. So my ideology is basically that if I have drawers, that essentially if I don't put things up when I'm leaving the job site to pack up to go home, it essentially won't fit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because with the boxes, you get ready to leave and you just kind of grab your stuff, and you're tired, you've been there all day, and it just ends up thrown in there.
Yep.
And then you're sorting out, so I bought more drawers than I did the boxes. So and does the Bauer do this? So because Rigid does this, the box that has the wheels, the one that's the rolling platform, is just a box. Like there's not a whole lot of organization abilities to it.
Yeah, the Bauer's the same way. It's got a tray at the top. Other than that, it's just a box.
Just a box. So the cool thing about Milwaukee, which of course, this was a step up, is I actually bought, instead of their box with wheels, I actually bought their dolly, right?
I saw that, yeah.
So the dolly has a way of attaching the boxes to it. So now I don't have that big box. I foregoed that big box. It was about an $80 difference. Got the dolly, and then got more drawers that stack on it and lock in. And then what's cool though is from what I've seen, and I'll test it and see how well it works, but what I've seen is it looks like I'll be able to take my boxes, put them on the dolly, pull them into the house, unclip the boxes off of the dolly, and then I can use that same dolly to go back out to the trailer or to the truck and grab a cabinet or a part and roll it back in versus carrying it. And I'm not taking an extra dolly. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm not taking something extra. I'm using one thing for two purposes now. So that kind of made it justified in the price difference versus the rolling box and using the dolly. So I'm pretty. They're supposed to be here tomorrow and get organized. So I'm pretty stoked to see how that works, and see if that can get me more organized, because I'm not an organized person, right? I'm not.
Well,
I'm not good. I'm a very organized person. I'm just not a good. I'm not good at maintaining that organization.
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah. We can set it up all day, spend all day putting tools where they go, and then it just it all goes to calamity after that, But the idea, so it's twofold. You're going to spend money on that, on any sort of system, especially the Milwaukee system. But think about how many thousands of guys are using that every day. There's install crews that stuff stays on a trailer, man. It never comes off. It bumps, it falls, it does everything. I mean, no question that stuff is worth it. But what I decided to do is I said, let's try a system like that out.
Right.
And let's see because dude, Charlie, Sensei, he had wooden boxes that he made in the shop.
Right.
With wooden drawers, and they were heavy, and there was like a lot of them, they didn't lock together, so I was like, well, okay, we need to do something a little bit different.
I agree.
And I said, let's try the whole interlocking box system just to see if it works. And then if it works and if we like it, then we can upgrade it one day, to the Milwaukee system. But think about it. Dude, the time to pack up now versus the time to pack up 3 years ago, worlds of difference, man, when you're putting tools. And it protects your tools, too. You got a lot invested in tools.
You do. And I like the way Milwaukee is going. Like the rigid system I had was okay. Like kind of like you, like it was kind of a base. It was something I could afford at the time when I started, the remodel business, and it was something I could afford because I was living off of my truck, right? I mean, job to job, and I had to take everything that I owned to a job site. So, I mean, I've got a lot of these rigid boxes, and I'm hoping to be able to sell some of them to kind of recoup some of my money.
Oh, yeah.
But it's just not as thought through as like the Milwaukee seems to be. And I looked at the Flex. Have you looked at their stuff at all? Like the Flex line? No. So it's a Lowe's. I don't know if it's a Lowe's brand, but it's exclusively sold at Lowe's, the brand itself is getting a really good review, and the Flex boxes they're doing some really cool things that like nobody else is doing, like weird things, like they've got a ability to attach battery holders to the outside of their boxes.
Really?
Yeah, so like I mean, you're always like you take extra batteries, but they're floating around. Where do you put them? Like they're actually created this holder that goes on the outside that locks their battery on. I think that's pretty cool, but I don't have any Flex tools, so
yeah,
to use that, I need to use the Flex tool. Then I'm kind of getting really, and for anybody who knows, and I'm not a brand loyalist by any means. But if you've kind of gone down this rabbit trail of battery tools, once you kind of get into a few batteries, it makes it really hard to flex and change to another brand.
It does.
I think that's the locking point, is the battery. It may not be that you necessarily like the tool that much, but maybe your dad or somebody gave you a set of starter tools and you got a couple of DeWalt batteries. Well, now you can go and buy, instead of buying a battery or a tool with a battery, now you're just going and shopping and you're buying a tool only for a lot less because you have a couple of batteries that'll flex over to it, and that's how the problem grows.
Yep.
You know, and then,
then
next thing you know, you're locked. You know?
That's right. When I bought this shop, Sensei he was a Ryobi man, buddy, through and through.
I got a ton of Ryobi stuff. I love it. I'm a big fan. Do not buy I'm telling you this right now. Do not buy the Ryobi jigsaw. It is one of the biggest pieces of junk that you will ever buy in your life because the base on it doesn't lock.
Yep.
It pivots any direction, and I'm talking about a corded. This is a corded one, and it is the most frustrating piece of garbage I've ever had. But I don't use a jigsaw but about 5 times, so guess what? I won't replace it.
Is it blue or green?
It's green. It's
Okay,
it's a newer generation. But yeah,
this stuff he had was blue.
The blue Ryobi, yeah.
And of course, it fell one day, and the little the blade lock broke off. You know, so it's sitting in a drawer somewhere. But yeah, absolutely. I bought this, and it was Ryobi everything. So what did I do when I needed a Sawzall or when I needed, a nail gun or whatever? I went out and bought Ryobi stuff because I had the battery, and then I was like, and then I brought some DeWalt tools over when I bought the shop.
From what you had.
From what I had. So now I'm running 2 different batteries.
Right.
And that kind of drove me looking into Hercules because it was like, we need to get one battery, kind of system if we can. And Hercules at that time was just releasing, everything Bauer makes, Hercules is going to eventually make.
Right.
And so I said, well, let's go ahead. Let's try out an impact and a drill. They're cheap enough. And then next thing you know, I got a Hercules fan, Hercules lights, Hercules drills, Hercules impacts, Hercules rotozip, Hercules lights. And next thing you know, you've amassed, you really started to collect Hercules stuff.
Yeah.
And we've been using Hercules for almost a year now. And I mean, 1 million screws we've probably put in, over the last year, and no issues. I mean, the batteries last, plenty.
There's lots of good tools out there, and here's the problem: is tools are like TVs. There's 50 brands of them. There's like only a few manufacturers. They're all really made by the same people. I mean, DeWalt's made by Black & Decker, and I mean, so I mean,
yeah.
There are some quality controls that make them slightly different and slightly variant, but the technology in all of it and the manufacturing process of everything has come so far in the last 10 years that there's a lot of good tools out there. And start where I would tell people this: start at the best that you can afford. Start at the best that you can afford. That doesn't mean that you go and buy. I've run Ryobi for a bunch of years, but one of my biggest pet peeves with Ryobi is the chuck on the impacts. I don't like the chuck on the way the chuck works on the impacts. It gets stuck sometimes. Mm-hmm. So I had some Ryobi impacts, and I used them for about 2 weeks, and I took them back and went and bought a couple more DeWalt's because I just like that chuck, not because I like the DeWalt that much more. There was just a couple of things I didn't like about it. I've got a Ryobi nail gun, an 18 gauge Ryobi nail gun that I wish I could count how many nails I've run through it between the remodels and through the cabinet stuff. And my partner's got a Milwaukee one. The Milwaukee one is a little lighter. It's a tad bit more ergonomic, and it drives nails faster. I will say that.
Yeah.
But other than that, I can't kill this stupid Ryobi one. I would like to get the Milwaukee one just because of the lightness. Because if you run a battery-powered nail gun at all on a job site for any length of time, they're heavy. That is a downfall. They're heavy. But hey, I was on the site yesterday, and they were actually having some flooring put down in another room at the same house. And the flooring guy was like, "Hey, do you have an extra air hose by any chance?" I said, "I don't run any air tools on site. I'm sorry. I use all battery guns." Because he got a hole in his air hose, so he was kind of up a creek. So I gave him my nail gun for, 15 minutes so they could finish up. He just needed to shoot some shoe molding down, but yeah. So I can't get this stupid Ryobi gun to die.
Me either.
But I would rather have the Milwaukee just because it shoots a little bit faster and it's a tad bit lighter. But
Yeah.
other than that, that Roby's good. I mean, I've really enjoyed it. So don't. I've seen people in groups they'll really poo poo on a brand, and it kind of ticks me off because not everybody's going to go buy. And hey, and DeWalt, pay attention. There's two lines of DeWalt. Like there's a plus and there's a homeowner version. Like,
Yep.
and it's hard to tell the difference between the two. So don't let somebody poo poo on your tool. Buy the best you can. Like that would be my don't like maybe not go by Hart or maybe not go by Bauer. Like
Or Chicago Electric.
or Chicago Electric. Yeah, great point. Now, hey, look, I've got a floor gun that I bought. I don't know how long ago for hardwood floors for nailing hardwood floors because I knew I was going to use it one time. Like I don't want to lay hardwood floors, and I still have that stupid. I think it's Central Pneumatic. I got it at Harbor Freight. It's a Central Pneumatic, and guess what? That sucker still. I had a buddy that needed to borrow one because he was going to put some flooring down in a closet, and he's like, "Do you by any chance have one?" I said, "I do." I said, "I have no idea if it works or not. I haven't used it in 10 years probably." And he's like, "Hey, it worked like a dream." I was like, "Hey, man, there you go." Because I'm not going to go spend a ton of money on something I intend to use once or twice.
Yep.
You know,
You can get in trouble with that mindset.
Yeah.
Well, I need to use it once, but it's going to be really expensive and sit on a shelf for the next 10 years. A contractor buddy of mine, we put hardware floors in 5 years ago when we moved into that house. And I said, do you have a floor nailer? I'm not fixing to go buy one. He said, yeah, I got one. Central Pneumatic. Sucker's 20 years old, built like a tank.
Yeah.
And he said, I can't kill it. And it's
It
the same
happens.
thing with like rifles. You could go buy $1,000 rifle, and I could go buy a $400 rifle, and sometimes a $400 one will do just as good, and sometimes you get a one that's not really good at all. So
Well, I used to tell people all the time when I had the gun range, "Hey, buy you a $400 rifle and put you an $800 scope on it.
exactly.
Don't buy an $800 gun and put a $400 scope on it though. Like it just doesn't work. It doesn't work backwards. Like there's some things that just don't work backwards. I mean,
But that
yeah.
advice is solid, man. Like get what you can afford, get the best you can afford, but also pay attention to what you do for a living and what all tools they sell, right? So if you're a roofer,
Yeah.
I would look at Milwaukee because they have the nibblers and they've got, all sorts of different crimpers and roofing tools. If you're a plumber, Milwaukee has, all your crimps and all that kind of stuff versus maybe DeWalt doesn't have that much, or maybe,
Right.
Hercules or whoever else.
Well,
So
like
look at
DeWalt for a long time didn't have. They're just now catching up in the battery nail guns.
Yep.
They've been way behind in that. That's how I ended up with the Ryobi nail gun for a battery gun, is because they were killing it. They were the first ones out there with it, really.
Yep. That 23 gauge pin nailer.
Yeah, they were ahead of DeWalt. They were ahead of Milwaukee. They had it all before anybody else did. So I mean, you got to look at what you're doing, and how often am I going to use this tool? I mean, if it's a once every couple of months tool, then don't dump a bunch of money in it. But if it's something you're going to touch every day,
Yeah.
that might want to be. And then look at the platform, look at the battery, and then look at the entire line. Because once you start buying batteries, I mean, batteries are good. They last a long time now. And I went through this big, like, do I want to switch? Because I was debating about having brand A in the shop and having brand B on the truck. And that way I wouldn't cross the two up. That way I wouldn't show up at a job site thinking I had a tool and I had used it in the shop. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Because I don't put things back up like I should. So I end up with 4 impacts stacked up on the, on the workbench, and I'll end up with the one that's supposed to be on the truck piled up on the workbench too somehow for some reason. And I was thinking, well, if I got brand A and brand B, then I just know that brand B doesn't come in the shop at all.
Yeah.
And I won't do that. But it's too much. I didn't think it would be feasible to have 2 different battery lines.
Yeah. Yeah. Pay attention to that kind of thing. On kind of that subject, a couple of years ago, I bought a tandem axle 16-foot trailer. Really good shape. The lady, it was her dad's. Her dad has passed a few years ago, and it was sitting in the backyard. Long story short, I acquired it. I got it, and I said, well, this would be perfect if I have a few doors to go hang or 2 cabinets. I don't have to pull the big trailer.
Yeah.
Dude, I get burned every time, man, because there are things that do not come off of that main trailer.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Levels, ladders, ram set, hammer drills, things like that that never come off. And then, so what do? I go get the black trailer thinking I'm, Mr. Smarty Pants. I get the black trailer, I throw the cabinets on and a couple of drills, and I'm out. Dude, I ain't got a ladder.
Yeah.
And so I am going to set that other trailer up with levels and ladders and things that always stay on that trailer, because
But that's an expense. That's an expense that you got to wait till you're at that point. You got to wait till you're ready to make that jump, and you need to know for sure. Like, kind of following, I'm looking at trailers now. Like, I'm looking at 16-foot trailers, tandem axle. Like, that would suit 95% of my needs, but I'm not ready. Like, I'm not quite there to the point where I want to make that jump, because I have a partner with a trailer, right? And we're not to the point where that we have that trailer locked up all the time, but we're getting close. We're getting close to the point where the schedules are starting to conflict, and it's like, no, I'm ready to do an install on Tuesday, but he's already tied with the trailer on Tuesday, so I'm pushing an install till Wednesday so we can get everything there. And it's going to be a point where, we've got everything, but we're not there. And and I'm not a patient person, right? So I keep looking. And of course, once you look at one thing, the algorithm blows you up on social media. Now it's just trailer ad after trailer ad. But I just have to keep telling us I'm not ready. Like, for 2 things, we're not scheduled. And then I have this dollar amount that has to be in the business account so that I can suck that away and still be where I want to be, as well. And until that dollar amount is there, I'm definitely not going to make that jump. But I do want to look, like, I want to kind of research and know what the market is, like, what should a trailer like this cost? What, what are the variations? Because you just look at trailers and boy, there's a whole rabbit trail you can go down, right? Like wall thickness and different things like that. So I'm trying to research it and kind of be in the know so that when I'm ready, I kind of have some information, but I got to continually pump the brakes on myself that we're not there. I'm not there. And you got to do that with other stuff too, whether it's this, you got a contractor or a job site table saw and you want to upgrade it to a cabinet saw. Are you there? I made a lot of money off of a fold up cobalt saw for a lot of time. I mean, I would put better blades on it, I would, and I would have to carry some extra things with me to be able to carry, to cut bigger materials. But until I got to the point where I knew that I had a shop and I could dedicate the space to it, man, I run that job site saw for a long time, even in the garage shop, because it was so small. I would actually like do all my cuts on that fold up saw, and then I could actually put it in the corner. It's actually kind of nice because I could put it in the corner and get out of my way, and I had that footprint back to work in, But when you're
there's
looking,
a million factors to consider.
Yeah, don't think, okay, there's a 6-inch joiner and there's an 8-inch joiner. If you're on the cusp, you need a joiner, right? And you're looking at it and you're like, well, there's a $200 difference between the two. Yeah, I would wait till I had the $200 to get the bigger joiner for sure. But now if you're looking at 2 joiners and there's $1,000 difference in between them and you only use a joiner every blue moon, then probably the 6-inch joiner is going to get you. You can make enough money off that joiner to have paid for it, put a little bit more money in your pocket, and then buy the 8-inch and probably sell the 6-inch, and you're really not into the 8-inch much, but you've gotten into the game enough where you've been able to make some money versus not buying anything, and you've limited the amount of money you can make because you don't have that tool,
Yeah, and I've seen people like with a joiner, they start out and they get that tiny little benchtop joiner.
Yeah.
And then they're not happy with it. So there is a complete opposite side where you could absolutely waste money on something and it not do what you need it to do. Like one of the builders, he's got a couple guys works for him, and they pick on me all the time for having Hercules stuff, and they're like, "When they gonna send you a hat? When you gonna start wearing, shooting commercials for them and this?" And I'm like, "Aha, yuck it up, yuck it up." But at the same time, I have a $7,000 table saw,
Right.
because that's my bread and butter. I need that to be absolutely a Cadillac, man. I mean,
Yeah.
it has to be a beast. An impact driver, not so much. If I was a roofer, then I would pour my money into, impact drivers and drill things I'm going to use 8 hours a day.
Right.
So you have to step back and kind of look and, don't put your tool goggles on and just see something and think you want it. Make it a good business decision.
Oh yeah, I mean, there was a guy the other day on this other site, group that I follow. It's like Tool Trailers, I think, is the Facebook group. I think it is. I don't know if you follow them or not. And there's some cool ideas on there, but like one guy posted his trailer. I mean, it looked like a daggum DeWalt commercial. I mean, everything in there was black and yellow. I mean, I was like, black and yellow, black and yellow. There's a rap song, but I was like, man, this guy has drunk the Kool-Aid 115%, and it's cool. It looks nice, but is it really suiting all of his needs? Or, I mean, is he just that dedicated? And some people are. I mean, it's kind of like a Ford and Chevy thing. Like, I mean, you're not going to get a Chevy guy to ever consider purchasing a Ford. Whereas, like me, I think all of them are pieces of crap that'll leave you on the side of the road, because 3 out of the 4 brands have. So I don't really care. I mean, I kind of grab what's the best deal for me at the time, because they've all failed me. And a tool, I think, will do the same thing. I mean, it'll fail you too at some point in time. I mean, that same Milwaukee nail gun, I've seen it like misfire probably more than my Ryobi will. Now he catches back up once he gets it back going again, because it does shoot a little bit faster. But I also see the frustration with like turning it off, turning it on, resetting the battery and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But.
And you're thinking, man, I spent $800 on this daggum gun.
Right.
Here comes Travis behind me with that little Ryobi.
Well, that's a little fast. It's more like chunk, 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 chunk. Hey, but it's a steady rhythm. I'll give you that. I don't have to pause and reset batteries.
It's like I tell my guys, slow is smooth and smooth is fast,
Yeah. Well, we kind of went down a little tangent there. I didn't mean to go that far down that rabbit trail, but that's kind of what the week has been. That's kind of what I've had going on. Got another build. I'll kick off on Tuesday. My oldest daughter's home from college for the weekend, so just kind of been having some downtime, hanging out with her. Went and did some farmer's market type kind of stuff yesterday. Bought me a nice, cool Nashville hat.
I see that.
Yep. This is from a guy. It's called Hug a Farmer. I've known him I've been acquainted with him. I don't say I know him, like we're not buddies or anything, but been acquainted with him for a while. He's a small local brand. Really, really cool dude. But Hug a Farmer is who produces this, and saw them, and then we got some really good, local food yesterday at this farmer's market, and had a really good time hanging out. And then did the church thing today, played a little bit of cards, and sat around this afternoon. Mama's got a roast in the crock pot for tonight. Oh boy, yeah.
You smell it all day.
Some taters and carrots going down there with it, and then we'll do brunch in the morning and send her off, and I'll go pick up materials as soon as she leaves. I'll go up to Nashville and grab materials for the next job and start ripping boards on Tuesday morning. Get a little injection in the elbow, hopefully on Tuesday. I got some kind of weird pain that goes on in my elbow. I call it plywood elbow. I think it's from locking the arm out and carrying sheets of plywood around.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping they'll give me a little injection in there on Tuesday. I was supposed to go the last week when I was sick. So I've kind of endured you get all excited. You're like, oh, this is going to, this will be a good thing. I can't wait to go. And I don't know if I'm sure, because you got bad knees too, that you had a the cortisone injection.
Yep.
And they can kind of hurt, but they have a reward, right? So you're like, oh, I know that it's going to relieve. So that's what I'm hoping they'll do for my elbow. So I got excited about it, and then I got sick, and I was like, oh crap, So hopefully that'll get done, and then we'll get this build in. But and then I kind of hope for a quiet week, to be honest with you. Lots of shop time, just me and my stereo that's been newly relocated up higher during my shop day.
I got a.
I'll quit turning the volume up and down on it while I'm running sheets of plywood through the table saw. I've done that once or twice.
Yep.
And have a hot lunch, So I mean, I'm pretty
You're gonna
excited.
be set, man. You're gonna be.
I'm ready to roll.
New on the vine, man.
Right.
Ain't nobody gonna be able to tell you nothing.
Well,
You're gonna be sitting over eating your hot pocket.
Can't nobody tell me nothing now as it is. I think I know everything. I think I know everything already, but whatever.
Yeah.
Well, tell me about your week, man. I mean, I've burned a whole lot of time. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be a hog of the airwaves, because I know people would probably listen to you rather than me. But
I don't know about that. I've only got 5 minutes left.
Well, you know what? There we do. I did it. I extended the podcast out.
Okay.
You have as much time as you want to.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's what I do for you, man. That's
right.
what friends do. So.
What about the other guy, the third guy on the podcast we never let talk? Just leave him sitting over there.
Shut up. You sit over there in the corner and keep your mouth shut.
Be quiet.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, our list is growing. By the way, I don't know if you have a list, but I've got a line of people at the door.
Yeah.
That are waiting to come on.
I think I have a few people, but I think they want to evaluate how bad we sound or how good of a job we're doing before they're willing to step in that arena.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're close, though. I say around 10 episodes, I think we'll be dialed in enough that we can feel comfortable adding another line, and because we still haven't tested that or played with that.
We still got to test it.
Yeah, I think around the 10th episode we'll be to the point where we feel comfortable enough, because I mean it's taken us a little while despite all of the recording time that we have logged in. I mean we've got more recording time than Joe Rogan. So I mean in our first episode, but in our first season, but we're just testing and figuring it all out and everything. So it's been fun, and man, it still doesn't feel like a chore yet. So I'm down with it. Yeah, it's still something to look forward to.
Yeah, because I was like, all throughout the week, I was like, saving that for the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, we broke our rule this week. We did talk a little bit because we had to talk about the artwork. Stuff. Yeah, I mean, we had to talk about the artwork a little bit. Then we had to update the host that does all the hosting for the broadcast. And then what else did we? There was something else. We called each other yesterday, but we had really poor reception because I work in a Faraday cage and he works and lives in Timbuktu. So it was about a 4-minute conversation through static. So we didn't really cover a whole lot then anyway. But I just knew that I did learn from his sidekick that Mitch apparently doesn't put any tools up either. And
I gotta remember to take my phone off speaker.
His employee threw him right underneath the bus on that one, and apparently he was punished by using some kind of Mickey Mouse hammer for his indiscretions against his boss. I don't know. Maybe you might have to tell that story a little bit, but I mean that's a weird punishment. I mean, I had to vacuum a parking lot one time in the Marine Corps because I got in trouble. But that just sounds like really cruel and inhumane punishment, making him use this little Mickey Mouse hammer to pull trim.
Well, look, on the tool, we print off a tool list. We talked about that, right? And on the tool list, it says toolboxes - full. So whoever loads the toolboxes up, you have to open it and make sure, all the tools are in there. Well, I'm not pointing any elbows at Trey, but I didn't load the toolboxes up. So
maybe you need an inventory list inside of the toolbox.
Oh, Lord, no. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that.
And now, on your inventory list, you'll have to put toolbox/toolbox inventory list.
Yeah, it just keeps compounding.
When does it end?
Right. But he'll make sure, I guarantee you there'll be a hammer in there every time. So we get there, and of course, we have to remove some trim. And he was like, Mitch, where's the hammer? I said, I don't know. I didn't load the boxes up. He's like, well, it ain't in there. And he pulls out this, I wish I had it. The handle is about like this pen, and the head is about that big. I mean, it's a tiny.
So I'm imagining hammer. The ones that you give as gag gifts that like you unscrew the end off of it, and there's a screwdriver in it.
Yeah.
And you unscrew that screwdriver, and there's a smaller screwdriver. Like you get them at like the Dollar General. Like that's what's in my mind when you're describing this to me. Like eventually you'll unscrew enough that you get to flathead screwdriver that's small enough that you can adjust your glasses with. Like,
Exactly.
you know, like what your granny used to crack pecan shells with, you know, because she couldn't find the cracker.
That's about what it is. So he's looking in there and he finds this little hammer. He's like, "What is this?" I said, "I don't know, man. I ain't got nothing to do with that." And so he's looking, futilely. He's looking in the box and he's going, "Man, it's got to be in here somewhere," because he had a lot of trim to remove.
He's praying at this point. Like,
yes,
he's got you.
And so he finally gives up and he goes, "Well, I guess I'll go remove all this trim with a watchmaker's hammer."
A watchmaker's hammer.
And the funniest part, I was dying laughing because you could hear him upstairs, tink, 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 trying to beat that. Which, by the way, if you don't have one of those trim pullers, you need to go get one.
That is the best. That is one of the best $30. And buy the mini one too. Go ahead and spend the extra $20. Get the big one and get the little one. Trust me. I think they're a Lowe's exclusive. I've never seen one at Home Depot. I don't think.
Yeah, they're awesome.
I think I've only seen them at Lowe's. What's the brand? Can you think of the brand?
No, it's
black. It's got a red handle on it.
Yep, black with a red handle.
Dadgummit.
But anyway,
they're great. They are the best little tools.
Yep.
Yeah, I left one at a customer's house one time, and I mean there was no question about it. Lowe's was closer than the customer's house. I just went and bought another one. Like,
yep.
I'll get that one back. I'll get that one back later, but I'm not going without this one.
Yeah, because it doesn't tear everything up when you're trying to remove trim and all that.
Yeah.
I did about 10 minutes before we started. I ordered a boom stand.
Oh, nice.
Because I'm sick of seeing yours and I don't have one.
Well, hey, and let's go back to the trim puller real quick, because this is I'll give you a hint or a tip on this that should seem relatively simple, but I was too stupid to get the hint on it. If you will notice when you're pulling the trim back away from the wall where the nail is, the odds are that that's where a stud is as well. Mm-hmm. That's where you want to pry. That way you don't put the trim puller through the drywall.
That's right.
All right. So if you're trying to guess where a stud is, most of the time people who have paid attention are nailing that trim into the studs. They're going every 16 inches. And if you don't want to pull the tape measure out, just get it back far enough where you can see where a nail is. I guarantee, I will almost put money on it that that's where a stud is. Put the trim puller right behind that nail and pry, and you won't rip the drywall. But I was too stupid to put those two together for some reason. I mean, I knew that that's the way it worked, but I never put the two together. And Derek was like, "Hey, that's where the stud is, where that nail is.
Yeah.
You'll
Right
quit
where
putting
the
holes.
nail is.
You'll quit putting holes in the wall if you do that." But yeah, sorry.
Well, we just make sure it's behind the cabinet. We just take a sledgehammer and just knock everything out. So, who
A
cares?
dead blow hammer works better than a hammer, by the way, on those two. Just
Yep.
saying. Just get the little 5-pound dead blow. Works great.
So I got that order because I kind of feel inferior. So I did that. Anyway, you remember front house, back house?
Yep.
So we finished completely front house. There was we had to go put a floating shelf up. And, of course, the walls were, curved for whatever reason. So I couldn't caulk it or anything like that. And so I had to go back and hang a little bit of scribe on the shelf, dress that up, and do that. While we were finishing that up, I got to tell you this. The lady remember the Chinese crested?
Yes.
She dyed the hair pink. Yeah, she dyed the
pink-haired dog lady.
Pink, yeah. So that's where we got Pink Lady Dog Hair from on that job name.
Hair. I got it messed up. Pink Lady Dog
And
hair.
She will randomly hand you this dog. Like, here, hold her just a second. And it feels like, man, the skin on this thing is weird.
Well,
it's
for
like
one,
almost
you should
sticky.
feel fur. You shouldn't feel skin on a dog.
Yeah.
So
that's
that's
weird. So it wasn't what did I say? It was one of the painters. So you know what a chupacabra is, right? It's like the weird dog mutant thing that's supposed to be killing all these cows and stuff. It's like anyway, it's some sort of
It's like snipe hunting. I feel like this is a.
Well, no, but they don't exist.
Okay.
But the Indians or something named them.
Okay.
And anyway, they're supposed to be like this little monster dog that'll kill your livestock. It's real ugly. Looks like a bald werewolf, teeth sticking out. And you can Google it. Anyway,
gotcha.
Dude, the painter says...
I can't Google it because there's no way on God's green earth I'm ever going to spell that.
Chupacabra.
I'm afraid. I'm going to try right now while you're talking, but I'm afraid of what's going to come up.
Yeah, it's safe. It's safe to look at. So the paint guy says, he's looking at her with his dog, and he goes, "Is that a chupacabra?" And without missing a beat, she's like, "No, it's a Chinese crested." Because I guess she has never heard of a chupacabra. And man, I
is
just
an urban legend.
Mm-hmm. That's an ugly thing. You ever seen one?
It's
like online.
Like they're showing it more like cat looking.
Yeah, it's an ugly looking thing. But anyway.
Yeah, this. Oh, holy! I'm backing out. Back out. Back out. I'm having a nightmare.
But he asked her. He said, "Is that a chupacabra?" She's like, "No, it's a Chinese crested." Man, I was trying.
I can see why he would ask that. I can see. I really do. I can see why he would ask that.
Yeah, it was a mess. So anyway, the guy that owned that house is the president of a bank that's like half a mile down the road.
El Presidente.
Yep, and that's who we do our business account. You know, it's the same bank, different branch.
Okay.
So anyway, and you know, I told him we were thinking about building a house and this and that, and he's like, "Well, man, come see me." And I'm like, "Shoot, yeah, man, I'm gonna come." The president of the bank, yeah, I'll come see you. So anyway, he had his.
Is this your big news? Is this your news?
We're getting into it. Yeah.
Okay.
So he had some puck lights, and he was trying to spray paint them brown, and it had contamination on them. The paint was wrinkling up, and I said, "Man," he goes, "Man, do you think you can do anything with these?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'll take them back to the shop. We'll prep them right. You know, they got to be prepped." So I told Joel, I said, "Listen, you know, sand them all the way down to metal, prime them with a good primer, and then paint them. They came out perfect."
This is your Picasso in training, right?
Oh, Glass Man? Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. You want something painted, you drop it off back there and tell him what color. He's amazing. Anyway.
Doing good. Gotcha.
Then
just lay it out for him, because if it's packaged together, he might not take it apart.
Yeah, you got to unscrew it and take all the parts out. I said, you'd been better off just dipping that thing, man. Anyway, he had some little pull-outs, and these are just, you know, little pot and pan pull-outs that you screw directly to the floor of the cabinet, so the opening really don't matter.
Like Rev-A-Shelf type stuff?
Yeah, yeah. And they had a credit at the tile place, is what he said. So he said instead of getting his money back, he'll just, you know, finish out his credit. And he's like, do you think the builder will put these in? And I'm like, dude, I don't know. Like, I'm not fixing to tell you what the builder's going to do.
I'm not going to speak for him.
No, shoot, no.
I barely want to speak for myself. I'm not going to speak for somebody else.
But then I said, we'll take a look at it and see. Dude, they just screwed in. So I was like, yeah, and Trey knocked those out. But anyway, he goes, man, let me know what I owe you for that. I don't expect you to do anything for free, you know, or anything. I said, I'll see you at 2:00. You know, we're gonna come talk to you about this house. He's
I'd like a house loan for installing your drawers.
Yeah, I mean, that seems like a pretty good trade-off, you know.
All day. Work it. I mean, the United States was founded on the barter system. I'm just saying.
That's right. And luckily, he was like, man, he's super excited about the cabinets. He loves them, you know, and all this. But anyway, then on another job we got done there with everything but the hardware. We got to go back and put the hardware on. That's nothing major. But she wants different colors for different rooms. That makes me nervous, because I have to order the right amount, you know, and then luckily they're all the same size. Okay. So that's not going to be an issue.
So by size, you're referring to the distance between the holes.
Yep, hole to hole, for the center to center.
And that's the big thing. Like a lot of times when you're looking at pools on a cabinet, you can change them out, and there's a million different styles, but you want to make sure that your hole distance matches. Otherwise, you got to drill new holes, and you got to figure out how to patch and repair an old hole. So
yeah, and on
they're pretty standard. Like there's like for the most part, like kind of 3 sizes, like 3, 5, and I don't know what, like a 7,
and then
something like that.
Then you get into the metric, which is 96 millimeter, 112, 128, you know, whatever.
I speak American. I don't do metric.
That's right. They're all standard. You can find one in 20 years that'll fit.
As George Washington says, see my shirt, it says, "Hold my beer."
Trey had an opportunity to build a whole bunch of hive tops for Southern Sweet Bee. He's got 110 of those done as of now.
Nice.
So he's got 40 of those left. He's been staying late. He was like, Mitch, do you mind if I do that? Make me a little extra money on the side. I said, buddy, have at it. And then the sucker tried to pay me the other day. He was like, here. And I said, what's that for? And he said, well, I've been using the shop. I said, oh, no, 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 no. I said, if you work here, this is your shop. If you want to come in and make money on the side after you get done, you're more than welcome. You don't owe me rent, electricity. Now, if you're going to be, if you come up with a cutting board business, then yeah, you need to get your own glue and sandpaper.
Right.
That kind of thing. But, dude, you want to make these hive tops after work? Make them, because guess what? He's learning radial arm saw. He's learning table saw. He's learning, he's getting more and more. It's free training for me.
And it's a great way to reward your employee.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great reward for your employee that's not really costing you a whole lot. I'm not going to say it has zero cost, because, you're having wear and tear, and, you're eating, taking off of saw blades and stuff like that, and, electricity and, tools and stuff. But what a great way to encourage somebody to learn and to increase their knowledge of the craft, but to let them, earn a little bit extra money that you may or may not be able to. You got an employee that you really say you want to pay them more, but the business is just not to the point where it'll allow that yet. Or you would like to give them a bonus, but the business is just not at the point where you can do that yet. Something as simple as this, as allowing them to do a little side project, even if it's not necessarily like for an external customer, but say it's an internal customer, and you can say, hey, you know what? You've got this. This is something that you can do, and I'm having a hard time thinking of like a simple project, but just allowing them to do that on their own and allowing you to go home and not have to supervise that project or to be as hands-on on it, provide a quick little, quality control eye on it before it leaves the shop to make sure, that it's something that you wanted to stamp your name on if it was something he was doing for you.
Yep.
And that, and then let him earn a little bit of money. What a great way. That's just a great way to show that employee that you value them and that you want to do better for them. And you're willing to do that. I think that just speaks volumes, not just for you, but just for anybody else out there that's got it, somebody that's in this medium, I don't want to say medium. What do you call medium for your shop size? Schmedium?
Yeah.
Are you a schmedium?
Yeah, I'm a schmedium.
Schmedium. But you're at that
small.
And you've brought on employees, so you're obviously at a turning point, where the business model is starting to rotate, one more degree, towards what you want it to ultimately be. But you're trying to make sure that it works in a way that it doesn't put you in a detriment, because you can't put this employee ahead of the business. Otherwise, the business is not there for you or the employee.
Right.
The business always has to come first. I wholeheartedly believe that without a soluble business, that you both suffer.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that some people are I'm gonna get dirty emails at offcuts@thestileboys.com about how they don't think that the business should come before a person. But when the business is the way of providing a way of living for the person,
exactly.
I think that it has to come first.
Yeah, you have to make sure that person gets paid, and that person don't get paid unless you get paid and make money and all that. But it's class, it's free training, it's him making money. And I told him, I said, I don't have a lot of perks to working here. Like I'm not going to match your 401k 4%. We're just not able to do that. But, dude, if you want to come in and do stuff for people like this, this is super simple stuff. It's time consuming.
Right.
And I said, dude, this shop is yours. And I haven't even been here. I don't know if he's here or not. And I'll come by and, he'll have 30 tops done or something. And it's like, well, good on him, And then Joel, he is doing the displays for for Southern Sweet Bee.
Oh,
and I told him, I said, if you want to build these 5 displays, here's what you'll get paid for it. And his eyes lit up. And he was like, for real? And I said, yeah, it's your money, dude. But
I can put some seatbelts in my truck.
Yeah, really. Make the door shut. But he comes in and like if we don't have anything to paint or anything for him to do, he works on those displays. He keeps that time separate from because I don't pay him for
Right.
shop time working on the displays. He does a really good job about keeping his
And that's a great way
time
to
separate.
supplement him when you've got a hole in your schedule where otherwise he would just go without,
Yep.
without if you were being greedy, and you could have very easily said, this is Mike's been my customer for for years. I mean, this is my project. I'm going to make the money. You could very easily just not have said anything to anybody and done this project yourself and put that money in your pocket. But one, it frees you up a little bit, gives you back a little bit of family time, but lets that guy fill in his schedule with otherwise when you would say, look, there's nothing to paint, go home today.
Yep.
And then you know what's going to happen after about 2 or 3 times being told go home, there's nothing to paint today. He's like, I can't go without a paycheck. I'm going to find
That's
something
right.
else to do. And then
Yep.
you've lost your painter or whatever that person is that you've put time and effort into training and teaching and getting your way of doing things done. You've lost all that. So then the dollars of what you've lost, I mean, they're really hard to calculate. I mean, you can if you really want to sit down and be a nerd about
Yeah.
it, but that's really hard to calculate. That
And
all
you
that
have to
time and energy.
You have to maintain an open relationship with these guys and say, okay, I'll bring you on for this.
Right.
Like I'm not going to give you 80 hours a week. Just keep it all open. But you have to do your part. You got to realize, and he's due to have a baby any day now. Well,
Oh yeah, we're still on baby watch, right?
yep. His wife is not him.
That'd be impressive.
The mother. By
mother.
the way, I'm gonna put that in there because she's a woman, and women have babies. But
They're the
that's-
only ones that are allowed by nature to produce a child.
Besides all that, anyway, she's 39 weeks, 38, 39 weeks or something.
Hold on,
So-
I missed an opportunity for a. Yes. Good, great point, Mitch. Thank you. The audience clearly agrees with your point.
Clearly, they're on our side on that. I mean. But anyway, he's working on displays, ready to have a baby. They seem to be they're rocking, man. They're getting better and better. I mean, knock on wood, we have not had any issues internally.
I was
And
just fixing to ask because you said one time like how good your relationship with Trey was, like that you guys. I think your words were, we everything's smooth as butter.
Butter smooth.
Butter smooth is the phrase
Yeah.
you used in one episode, and then I know that you've been working with the Glass Man, and I
Yep.
think your relationship is pretty good.
Absolutely.
It's
He's
a
come
new
along.
it's a new relationship, so
Yeah.
I don't know how comfortable you are about saying where the relationship is yet. And
It is.
And let me say something right here: if you have an employee and you don't think that you have a relationship with that employee, get into another business. You don't need employees, okay?
You ain't lying.
Because you have to have a relationship with them. Otherwise, you're not valuing them at a level of which a person that is helping you to earn an income deserves to be valued. Okay.
Yep.
You're valuing them strictly based on filling a position and doing a task for you, and that is no way to value an employee. So
Nope.
I will fight you to the ends of earth when you tell me that you don't need to have a relationship with an employee. You do. There are
Yep.
boundaries to it. I do believe that. I do believe that there are lines that you should draw, and I do believe that it is okay that over time that those boundaries and things get moved. I mean, I listen like the Duck Dynasty guys, for example. Like I listen to their podcast all the time, and as I listen to like how Martin has became an employee and now he's the general manager of Duck Commander and I think and Buck Commander, but I know he's the general manager of Duck Commander. But how that relationship has moved as being somebody in a family business, and where those lines have moved over time and through progression, because you don't want to give somebody that's too new too soon all the keys to the farm. You want to make them earn and value. You want them to value your business as much as you do. But if you don't show them that you value them as much as they value the job, they're not ever going to return that.
Right. It's the old adage, everybody needs to have skin in the game.
For sure.
You know, everybody needs to feel like they have skin in the game, and then
That's
your
like
results,
I'm trying to schedule a day with one of our finishers. I don't know if that was loud or not, but if you just heard a ring through the microphone, it's because I just smacked my microphone because we're professionals. But
right.
I'm trying to schedule a day with one of our finishers on a smaller job because I want to spend the day with him and I want to fully understand what he does in a day, so that I fully understand what I need to do to make his life easier. And I'm trying to do that. And keep in mind, this is a third party. This guy doesn't work for us or work for me. He's a third party.
Yeah.
But the end result, when somebody's standing there with that customer looking at the project, they're not going to ask who did what or who. Well, why is this line in the thing? Well, the finisher didn't. It's a package deal. They're going to talk about that package deal, whether it's a third party or not. And I want to make sure that I'm doing my part with him to make his life easier, so that one, he can move on and faster, but the final product is better. Like that.
Yep.
That's the end goal, right? And that's got to be the goal with an employee, is that he has enough stake in the game that he cares what the final product looks like. He doesn't need to care what his paycheck looks like at the end of the week. He knows what he makes an hour. He knows how many hours he's produced for you, right? That's a number that's easily calculated and easily defined before the first hour of work is done, right?
Yeah.
But what you want him to have is the stake in the claim, and to have as much desire for that final product as you do.
Yep.
And you got to foster that.
Yep.
You know, that requires fostering from the top. I mean, that requires it from you and your wife. And even, I would say, it even involves, I mean, especially with a family business like yours, it would even involve like the kids and the way that they come in the shop and interact, and the way that
absolutely.
the care and the way that they feel about the business and what it does for them. You know, I mean, if they come in the shop and they poo-poo on the business, and that, you know, they hate being at the shop, and, you know, and this is not Mitch's kids by any means. They're some hard work. You got some hard-working kids.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, they are, but
they get paychecks now, by the way.
yeah, but if they're not into it, then that negative will transfer over to this guy.
Yep.
And then you know where that negative shows up? It shows up on the final product, without a doubt, every time.
Yep. Because you care a little less, your attitude's not there, you're not excited, you're not having a good time. I mean, dude, we came from corporate type, companies where it's the same structure that you see all the time. You got the boss man, and he doesn't know the employees, and the employees hate each other, and they hate the boss, and the boss, runs them down. It doesn't work. Your turnover rate, I've seen it. I have literally been there in a place that has 3,500 employees. So the little things that you see in a small business are exponentially larger when you have that many people, working in a factory or something. And you see how that trickle-down effect works and gets all the way down to the customer who's buying the product that you are manufacturing.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I was just talking to my wife about this the other day. I remember I worked for a janitorial company that was publicly traded, and I had 250 something employees, like across mostly like Middle Tennessee to East Tennessee. And these contracts that we would get were extremely competitive. It was all about just kind of trying to give the lowest dollar you possibly could to earn the contract. And then that meant that you were paying absolutely the lowest wage that you could possibly pay, because it's publicly traded, so everybody who owns stock in the company wanted to make money, right? I mean, that's what you want to see. If you own stock in a company, you wanted to see it profitable. And they released this initiative, and the initiative to management was, on Fridays, we're going to send everybody home 15 minutes early. And I was like, what? And they're like, well, it's just 15 minutes. I was like, well, if it's just 15 minutes, then why are we sending them home?
Yeah.
I was like, you've already got me in a position where I am having to pay minimum wage or just barely over minimum wage, because the contracts are so crappily bidded that if I don't do that, we don't make any money.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't make any money, I'm out of a job because I have to run a profitable business for you. And now you want me to tell this guy that I'm just barely paying that he's got to go home 15 minutes early, which is a half an hour early per paycheck. And you're telling me that a person at the 750 an hour rate is not counting that 30 minutes as part of their pay?
Absolutely.
You're out of your freaking mind.
Yep.
And it infuriated me to no point that I couldn't take it, that I refused to participate in the initiative.
Yeah.
I refused to. And every week, why is we're not seeing the cost savings? Because like we would like a daily report. Like I mean, our financials come down to the day, and you could see, you could drill down that far to see what you were missing. And it's like, so we're not seeing this initiative implemented on Friday. I said, you know what? It's really hard on Friday to send a guy home 15 minutes early when on Monday I had to beg him to stay 20 minutes later to finish a task that we were contractually obligated to finish and to get done, because the customer did this and it was outside of our control and I had to beg him to stay. And then you want me to tell him at the end of the week that he's got to leave 15 minutes early so we can save, X number of dollars for the shareholder. I was like, I don't care that much. And another reason why I will never, ever, ever again. I said it when I left them that I would never work for a publicly traded company. And then I worked for Terminex again, which I've told you is the worst job on the face of this planet, that I worked for them again for a few months. And I will never, ever, 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 ever again work for a publicly traded. Let me just say this: if you ever see Travis working for a publicly traded company again, we're hungry at my house.
Yeah,
we
last option.
The kids need things that I'm not able to provide by any other way. The bank is trying to come and get the house, and I've got very little options left. Otherwise, you won't see me work for a publicly traded company again. Because I don't want to treat people that way, and I don't have any employees here right now, but I couldn't imagine. I just couldn't imagine that.
And so, but you understand running the business, like, that the way that last person was approaching it was absolutely wrong.
For sure.
And it comes down to, I've been there, dude, where I had a guy. And he wasn't happy here. He didn't like the work. I don't understand what happened. But anyway, I was getting comments from the builder saying, "Hey, what's wrong with him lately? He's just kind of sour and this." And I said, "Man, I don't know. I don't know if he's going through something or what." Dude, that has an effect on how your business looks.
It does.
And now we pull up, man, and Trey's laughing when he gets out of the truck. Joel is he gets out smiling, man, we're putting tools in, everybody's in a good mood. You know what that builder's think? What would you think if you're the homeowner and you're paying these guys to come and they're all happy when they get there, they're getting along, nobody's roughhousing, we're not talking ugly, we're not making fun of each other, not that kind of humor, but we enjoy what we do, man, and they're going to be like, shoot, this is going to be, it's going to be fine. Look at them. They come in, and before you know it, the customer comes in or the builder comes in. Now he's cracking a few jokes, and we're all, you know what I'm saying? It's whole mindset of it.
I agree. Yeah, and the last thing you want to do in a position with a homeowner is create a situation where they feel like they need to question what's going on.
Exactly.
Because when they question the work environment, that's going to make them question the workmanship.
Mm-hmm.
Then that makes them question the dollar value. That makes them question, are they getting what they paid for? Yep. And then that creates a situation where you basically create a nitpicky customer who probably generally would have floated through the process and been happy. And this is not a way of covering up crappy workmanship for those of you who think, well, if we just present a good facade, we can put on crappy workmanship. This is not a substitute for providing a good product by any means. But those negativities open up the doors because I've seen it. I've seen when, and especially like let's go back to the janitorial world. All of a sudden, you've got an employee that's walking around on the floor of. I had nursing homes when I first started with him. He's walking around on the floor of nursing homes and he's constantly complaining, about how he doesn't get paid enough. He's not getting enough hours and everything. And then that trickles down. And then, like, the director of the nursing home starts saying, well, this guy's constantly, upset. But he's also, like, in charge of, this is my floor technician. So the floor technician oversees all the waxing and stripping and buffing of the floors in the facility. Well, if he's unhappy, let me go look and see what kind of see what kind of work he is producing, and then you go look and you're like, these floors look like junk. And the floors, let me tell you something, if you don't think you notice floors in a facility, like when you walk into a hospital, when you walk into a nursing home, you walk into something, you notice the floors. Like that is one of the things that you pay attention to subconsciously or consciously. When you walk in, you're like, this place is crap.
Yep.
And it can be based on how the floors look. Like it's a selling point, right? But but that mentality, that feeling of not enjoying your job, it can affect so many facets of things that people don't understand. And like I said, at next thing you know, you have created through your toxic work environment, you've created now not only an unhappy customer, an employee. You've created a potentially unhappy customer through just that little bit of toxicity. It's crazy.
That is a road you do not want to go down, man. I understand stuff happens, and y'all have a blowout about something. That's something different. But as soon as you start, that customer gets to really going, man, something don't seem right. Let me go in here and look. I've seen it. I've seen a painter come in and miss something. The customer sees it. And the painter just kind of said something sideways, like, well, I mean, you got to give us time to. And guess what? The next week when I went, there were hundreds of Post-it notes on everything. And she's like, you want to play this game, buddy? We'll play this game.
Exactly.
Boom, 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 boom. You're not doing yourself any
Well,
favors,
I mean, and
man.
you just said it. So let's just say you're on the way to the job site and you have a little blow up with one of your employees, right? Somebody has to be the bigger person when you get to that job site, and guess who it's supposed to be? It's supposed to be the business owner, or the manager, like whatever the role is. It should be the higher of the hierarchy. That says, hey, look, man. Even if it's as simple as saying, I understand that we're not in agreement about this right this moment. Let's go in here. We're going to knock this job out. Let's do a great job on this job, and then when we get back to the shop, or we get back to the office, we'll revisit this and we'll fix this and we'll hash it out and figure out what we're doing from here. But right now, before we get out of this truck, we need to put our best foot forward for this customer, and we need to let this issue live in the truck. But it's not over. I see what you're saying, and I don't agree with you, but I agree with you that there's an issue, and we will pick it back up and we will resolve it afterwards. But right now, we need to go do a good job for this customer.
And that's a way to make them feel valued. Like their opinion matters and stuff, and I'm huge on that. And you guys will start to pick up on things that I've learned not to do in past jobs. And it's not to blast the last job or anything like that, but man, if you work in a toxic work environment, you'll learn. And I told my wife, I said, I'll never do that, man. I'll never go down that road. I'll never treat them this way, because they have to feel valued. And the best case scenario, which is what I'm in, I actually do value them. There's nothing fake about me telling a man, you're killing it. You're doing a good job, man. I appreciate it.
For sure.
Here's this opportunity. Here's that opportunity. Come on, let's go get something to eat. I'm buying breakfast. You got to be a team, man. If you start getting into this mindset where you just run the show and whatever you say, and I've seen people in the cabinet groups do this. There was a debate one time about whether or not they would let their guys use the shop.
I've seen that a bunch.
You saw the people that said, absolutely, man, they're welcome to come in and do whatever as long as it's after work, And then you see, oh, no, not without, they have to pay me a certain amount. Well, guess who's happier at their job?
Yeah.
You know,
And there are some questions. There's some liability questions there, and I've seen that brought up. If well, what if he injures himself? You know, I don't know. I don't know the answer to those questions because I don't have any employees of my own that are in the shop, and I've never had any employees since I've been in this situation. So I've never had workman's comp insurance for anybody. So I don't know how that works, but my guess would be that they're covered still.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're paying for the insurance either way.
Yep.
Just put them on the daggum clock. If they cut their finger off, put them on the clock. You've already paid for the insurance. Like, just take care of them. Like, it seems like a relatively simple answer in my world, but maybe I'm crazy and I could be wrong.
No, you have to carry workers' comp insurance, and I don't mean that. I mean, obviously, you need to carry it legally. You have to morally. You have to carry workers' comp regardless. I mean, just like, one guy that was here, I shot a nail through his finger. He was holding the wood together, and I shot the nail and bloop, right through his finger. And it was such a good feeling. I mean, because obviously he wasn't hurt. It was a pin nail. Right. I mean, it wasn't a framing nail. It was a little bitty pin nail. Didn't even bleed. And I said, well, let's go. And, man, we went in there. He got it took care of. He got antibiotics, whatever he needed. Paperwork was done. I'm just saying. He would never do that, but some people may come back in a month and try to sue you because their finger got infected.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta take care of yourself, man.
But it just seems like the easier answer, if they got hurt after hours, the easiest answer for everybody is to say, well, you were working.
Yeah.
You were working.
You're doing a directive that I told you to do.
Let's just go.
Yeah. I told you to make these beehive tops. You're doing it.
And the odds are that employee is more willing to come back on Monday than they would be if you said, well, you were here, but you weren't working for me, so you're on your own.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Now that I'm on my own, it really hurts on Monday, so I don't feel like I'm going to come in because I hurt myself over the weekend. And now you're screwed.
Right. Yep. And the joke is that I told him, if you ever get hurt in here, you're trespassing, and I've asked you to leave 3 times already.
Right.
Quick as you get hurt.
So. I used to joke and tell people, say, hey, right before you're fired on the way down off that ladder. Just so you know. You fall from there, you're fired before you hit the ground.
So we got our taxes done, and I want to hit on this for a minute.
Hold on one second. Let me back up. I just want to cover one topic.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you have that conversation in the truck, right? About how you're going to pick that conversation back up. Mm-hmm. Pick up the conversation.
Yeah.
Don't just pretend like it didn't happen. Because whether you think it's bullcrap or not, this is an issue that your employee is having. Hash it out and have the conversation. Be a man and don't be scared to have the conversation.
That's right.
If you need that employee and you value them showing back up to work tomorrow, just have the awkward conversation and fix the situation. Mm-hmm. And guess what? You may have to apologize.
Yep.
Let me just throw that crazy notion out there that there is a possibility that you as the business owner is wrong.
Yep.
And that you may need to apologize.
Yep, absolutely.
I feel like eating a little bit of crow is way easier than trying to rehire and bring in a new employee and trying to start that chemistry back up all over again.
Retraining and reteaching and
like I said, I don't have any employees currently, but I have had a lot of employees through a lot of business roles and job roles, and I am telling you the value of an employee that is trained is very hard to measure versus an employee that is not, or actually it's very easy to measure versus an employee that is coming off the streets that you got to teach everything. And I don't care if that guy's been, let's just say you own a cabinet shop and that guy's been making cabinets in cabinet shop B for the last 20 years. Well, guess what? He ain't been making cabinets for you.
Yep. And it's going to be completely different.
And the way that you do everything from breakdown to install could be different.
Yep. Take care of you.
So just have the conversation. Don't just blow smoke up his butt and make him feel good about doing the install. And then when you get back in the truck, you just pretend like everything's hunky-dory because he did what you asked him to do. Mm-hmm. And you just get back in the truck and just move on past it.
Yeah. Because
you may be you may be smoked. You may be smoked when you get back in the truck and go, hey, tomorrow morning we're going to take 15 minutes as soon as we get in the shop. First 15 minutes of the morning is yours. We're going to get this figured out.
Yep.
And then do it. That's fine.
You got to address it.
That's fine with not having a conversation while you're smoked and you're not thinking clearly, but don't pretend like it didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I'm sorry. That's just a little soapbox of mine that I have seen people do, and frankly, it just pisses me off, like
Yeah.
that to not value somebody.
Yeah, just because you own the business don't make you any better than the people that work there, and it don't mean you can talk to them any kind of way, treat them, and
No.
you're wrong. I'm always right, and that's the way to end up. And guess what? You might as well push them out the door and lock it behind them.
Yeah.
And then you're going to wonder why they quit. You're going to be like, well, I wonder what happened, and I wonder what I mean, I'm not saying you gotta don't put up with anything you shouldn't put up with, but be a man or be an adult, be a woman, and work it out. You're grown. Work it out.
Yeah. Boy, this may be our deepest podcast yet. I mean,
So-
this is real. I mean, and this is just how we feel. I mean, this is just how we feel about life. Like this.
Exactly.
I mean, it's pretty. I think it's pretty simple, to be honest with
Mm-hmm.
you. And it amazes me that people need to hear this, but I think there's people that need to hear it. I just do.
Yep.
All right, carry on, my man. Sorry.
So
What you got next?
when you do run a small business, your income absolutely matters. You don't have the opportunity to just, like if you're an LLC or something, you don't have the opportunity. You don't make hourly wages. You don't have a W-2 to turn in. You need to watch those numbers, because the number that you turn in, you can go down the school of thought that's like, I don't want to pay taxes. I'm going to make my income look as low as possible. Good luck getting a car. Good luck buying a house. Good luck getting a loan on a mortgage. It's not going to happen. If you want to sit there and show $5,000 income a year so you don't have to pay your little taxes, that's going to bite you in the butt, because you're not going to be able to go to the bank and say, well, really, I made 150, but on my Now, some of your smaller banks, they will put back in depreciation. They understand, running a small business. They understand that number, there's certain things that you would have had to pay out of your paycheck that now come out of your LLC.
Right.
Like mileage on your truck or tools or whatever. So anyway, that being said, pay attention. And and I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a tax attorney or anything like that, but what we do is we show an increase every year. It may be $1, it might be 30,000. Whenever we first got started, we had some pretty big jumps. But anyway, so we got to the tax office, we did our taxes, and it was showing that we made $1,000 more than the year before. And I said, perfect, dude. That's perfect. We're showing an increase. Everybody likes that, man. IRS likes that. You're showing that you're making money. You're not throwing up all these red flags. And we do run 100% legitimate business when it comes to taxes, W-9s, contractors, and all that stuff. We keep up with it. We don't do anything under the table or anything like that. So whenever you are thinking about, how much money you want to show you made, spend some time and figure out what's going to be, best for you. Because you don't have to claim all your income as income, or not your income, but your deductions. You don't have to claim all your deductions. You can, show that you made 100% profit if you really wanted to. So what happened was we went into the tax office, and like I said, they were showing that we made $1,000 more. I'm like, perfect. It was a new tax lady. The old tax lady, she quit and did something else. So anyway, she goes, give me a week or two. I'm going to run this up the ladder, make sure everything looks legit, make sure I didn't screw it up. And I said, okay, looks good on our end, send it. So we go back yesterday, and when we get back yesterday to the tax office, instead of making $1,000 more, it's showing that we made $5,700 less.
Ooh.
And I said, what happened? Like, we had all this, you were just going to double check. She goes, man, look, I found a couple more deductions. I found this. Look, I got your rebate up a little bit and all this. And I was like, okay, wait. We don't want that. We want to show a little bit of a profit increase, year to year. And believe it or not, dude, she didn't understand it. She didn't know that when you run a small business, she's used to people. Now, this is a big tax place. She's used to people deducting everything they can to get the biggest refund. But when you're a small business, the way our banks do it down here is if you make $10,000 first year, $20,000 second year, $30,000 third year, But then on the fourth year, you go back to 10,000. They're going to use that fourth year. They can't keep the line going up. But
Right.
if you make 10,000 more every year for 5 years, they're going to assume you're going to keep making more money. So when you go to put in for a mortgage or buy a house or build a house or whatever, keep all that stuff in mind.
Yeah, because I've always understood, and I may be wrong, but everything I've understood is kind of like after 5 years. So it's kind of that 4 to 5 is really when you need to start showing. You need to really start showing a profitable increase.
Yep.
Otherwise, the basic, because basically at that point the government will not recognize you as a legitimate business either.
That's right. You turn back into a hobby, and now nobody cares. So, we went into that. We went into this whole cabinet shop legit. Our paperwork's legit. Our banks are legit, all that stuff. So, keep all that stuff in mind. We got that fixed yesterday. And what it was we had I think it was our utilities, and I'm just throwing numbers out, but say our utilities were 10,000, and they were 2,000 for this, 2,000 for that, 2,000 for this.
Right.
Well, what she did was she put in the 10,000 for utilities and then put in the breakdown of each utility. So they were in there twice.
So sounds like she wasn't doing a great job.
Yeah, so we
do you
got
use a
all that
CPA
stuff.
or do you use like a
No, this is H&R
Hewlett,
Block.
H&R Block or Hewlett?
Now, we do all our own accounting through the year. We have every single penny accounted for. All they do is put it in. Stuff like that.
I moved to a CPA this year. This is the first year I've actually done, because my wife's an accountant.
Mm-hmm.
But business accounting is not like her thing. Is not her specialty. So we actually moved to a CPA this year.
Well, let me know how.
And I don't know what the results are yet. She's
Right.
asked a lot more questions.
Yeah.
Than we've ever been asked before, and I feel like we're filling a lot more blanks in than we ever have before.
Mm-hmm.
But we've also, the last 2 years, have made more money than we have previously.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we've jumped tax brackets or what, but yeah, instead of doing our own filing, typically I guess the first 2 years that we owned the business, we did our own filings through, like TurboTax, and sat down, and kind of filled all those blanks in. And then, so this year, so I guess the first 3 years, actually. And then this year is the first year that we've sat down with a CPA. And I was like, if you can find me, because she's like $400 for the year. I was like, if you can find me, you can easily find me $400 in deductions.
Right.
Make sure that we're maximizing, like, not only the mileage, but the vehicle itself, and then I took on rent of a building that was new, and things like that. And then, like, I've asked her, how do we account for, podcast expenses, is us hosting the podcast? And she's like, well, I was like, it's a business expense. It's part of our business. It's part of our model to gain money. We would like to get sponsorships off of this eventually. We would like for it to do good, but we're also promoting our own business. If you want to do business with me and you want to really hear Travis's philosophies and hear how I really feel about business, well, you're going to very easily be able to jump on my podcast and listen to how I feel, because this is no fluff. This is a conversation between you and I about how we run the businesses and how we feel about it. And it's a pretty easy review of how we are as business owners. So you tell me that's not a business expense.
Yep. I think it should
is.
be. We'll look. We'll see what she says about it. So we got taxes done, and that gets really complicated, obviously, when you own a business. The big news.
Big news. I've been waiting on this.
Hey, kids, be quiet. In the back, be
Hey,
quiet.
third employee in the corner, shut up. We got big news.
Everybody be quiet.
Hold on. I wasn't where I wanted to be. Here we go. Ready?
Am I waiting on you?
Do you hear? Oh, shoot. See,
I don't hear it.
See,
Everybody's in suspense right now.
I know, everybody's
man.
in suspense, and I'm going to do something stupid.
We got approved for the home loan.
Woo! This is big news, man. I mean, it really is. I mean, this is a big deal. And now you're going to have to back up about 5 steps because we haven't talked about this.
Yeah, we are.
Podcast world has no idea why this is a big deal. And you got 25 minutes.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I've already snapped once. I can't snap twice.
Yeah. So no do-overs.
Yeah.
Okay, so we bought a house. House was trash. House got condemned by the insurance company. Insurance said, "Nope, we're done with it. We've had it. We're buying it off. We're done. We are done here."
This is a very quick and sounds
very
painless
quick
explanation of this, but this has been having to relocate to a camper for a little while with 3 kids and two giant dogs.
Oh, we've got
both Great Danes.
Yeah, we had 6 dogs, I think, but the camper was in the yard, so none of that really changed. Anyway,
but I mean, moving the family to a camper hey, have you ever tried to get your car fixed after a wreck? Right? Try to get your house fixed after, a ton of black mold has been found in it. That's I mean, you could just imagine. Let's just drag that process out. And for all you insurance guys out there and lawyers,
the suspense of it was the hard part because we didn't know. For 2 years we didn't know what was going to happen, and we were, will they?
I mean, to the point, you guys put a brand new roof on this daggum house, and then. I mean, that had to be fixed. Put a brand new roof on it. What it was like the week after?
It was the week after we started pulling floors up. They wouldn't let us pull floors up until the new roof got on.
Yeah,
and we started pulling floors up, and I was like, "Hey, wait, this ain't gonna happen." So anyway,
it's been it, and I hate to say this like this because we are friends, but you are one of the few people that I can think of that I know that could handle something like this. And I don't know what that's supposed to mean. But I don't feel like that God would put that in front of me because I think he knows that I couldn't handle it the way I should. And I think that God puts things like this in front of people like you and Tammy because of your faith, because of the way that you live life, that he knows that it is something that you can handle. That doesn't make it any easier by any means. And I don't want it to sound like that way, but I just think that y'all's love for each other, your love for the church, your dedication to your family is what allows you to continue through this process. And I don't want to sound like I feel like that God's punished you with this, but I do know that for sure that I believe that it is one of those things that God puts in front of you as a test to evaluate you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And we learn so much from it.
Right.
It's to him, it's nothing. He's like, great, y'all got to sleep in the camper for a few months.
Right.
To us, it was a big deal. You're talking, 3 kids. We're stuck in a camper. We're living life.
And not little kids. Like these are all big kids. Like these are a lot of bigger people in a small, I mean, you bought an ice camper, you bought a big camper, but it's still a relatively small space. I mean,
hey, let's just put it mildly, and I got to be careful here. But if you're married and you enjoy the privacy of having your own bedroom across the house,
and the joys of marriage,
in a camper.
I mean, we enjoy the joys of marriage. I mean,
you don't get that in a camper, buddy. Let me tell you.
Try to arrange a sleepover for 3 children all at the same time. Let me know how that works out for you.
So anyway, we lost the house. Insurance said we're done with it. We're sick and tired of dealing with y'all, and they've been great. Really, insurance has been great. And so we said, well, fine, great. 2.5% interest on the loan. We had a 15-year fixed rate, 2.5%. Let's go buy a house. We got approved. We got a number that we got approved for. Let's go find a house. Dude. It didn't take us long to realize you don't want to be down here where I'm at in this housing market. You're going to get a dump of a house on 3 acres that you're going to have to put $100,000 in, and they want $260,000, $280,000, $300,000 for the house.
And let's remind everybody of your situation. On top of moving, you're moving, and you were literally 100-something steps from the front door of the shop.
Yep.
So now anything outside of where you currently were residing starts to severely alter life with commutes. And I mean, you think about, let's just think about this. You walked home for lunch.
Yep.
That's no longer an option for you. Like,
Exactly.
I mean, now you have a 10-minute ride. Okay, I got a 10-minute ride to go to lunch, and I can do that. That's fine. But now, what about my employee? I got an employee that's sitting here. What's he going to do? You know, I mean, it just, everything that you knew and everything, all of your process of running the business is for years now. I mean,
Yeah.
you got this groove going, and now everything is being changed, and everything is up in there. Because I mean, you guys looked at a really cool. We're looking at a really cool 100-plus-year-old house that had like some land with it. You know, the one we looked at during testing,
Yep.
and it was cool, and it would have been great, but it had a 20-minute commute.
Yep.
And when you go from walking to work to a 20-minute commute each way, that is it's altering. And I'm not saying it's not something that's not overcomable, but I mean, let's be realistically, it's a drastic change. I mean, I think about my wife. Her commute is now like it's like 1.2 miles, like to get to work. Anything further than 1.2 miles now alters. It's an alteration of every part of her morning and every part of her afternoon. So I mean, I just could imagine the thought of being able to walk to work.
Yeah, it changes your whole day. I mean, you got to think. I had zero fuel, right, to drive to work. Now that becomes an issue. Lunch, because down here in the South, my wife, she cooks. Now Joel has a wife. Trey's single. I ain't trying to put their business out there, but ladies, he is single.
And he's ready to mingle.
And he's ready to mingle. Well, I say that. I don't know. He's kind of digging, you know.
He's got a life like he
likes
likes it. He's got a little bit of like he likes it, huh?
Yeah. But anyway, so we had this deal work out where Trey eats lunch with us at home every day. My wife cooks this big lunch and I mean turnips, grilled pork chops, cornbread, macaroni. I mean, a big lunch every day.
Tammy Turner can cook. I'm just saying.
She can throw down, buddy.
I've had a little bit of that. Tammy Turner she can throw it down. I mean,
so, you know, all that stuff changes, but so we decided not to do that, and you're not going to get your money out of a house right now, because in 3 years, who knows what the market's going to be.
Right.
You're going to be upside down in it. And I said, you know what? I said, all right, let's just look at building. And I said, man, I can handle cabinets. I can handle countertops. We can handle paint. There's a couple of things I'm not going to admit to publicly.
Electrical, plumbing, like, I mean, you know some people, you know, you got some ties to things.
I got people that owe me favors. So wiring the house is not going to be, you know, a huge cost point. And I got to thinking about that, and I said, man, we can get way more house for the same amount of money if we build it.
Yeah.
So,
and you got the land. You
got the land.
You got the land
free and clear.
You got brand new septic system.
Yep. So I talked to a builder, one of my builders, and I said, listen, we want to talk to you about building a house. Possibly we have some plans. He's like, yeah, shoot them over. You know, and a couple of weeks goes by, he gets a quote. In the meantime, the other builder heard that we were looking to get in a house built. Now he's an hour, a little over an hour north.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, no way he's interested in coming all the way down here. The other builder's 20 minutes away. Right? So I kind of mentioned it in conversation. We're getting a quote, and he's like, he calls me. And, you know, it's just the way this guy is. He calls me. He's like, hey, shoot me them plans. And I said, for what? And he's like, well, you know, I'll just let you know where we would be on it. You know, not I want to build it or anything like that. And I said, okay.
I wonder how many people are going to watch this podcast and on the video thing. I wonder why we yawn so much.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
because we're small business owners.
Yeah.
Just I know the answer. The reason is because we're small business owners.
But anyway, so he comes back with a quote that was within our budget. We told him what we would be handling, you know, on the house. Right. And he said, okay, I'll deduct all that. He comes back. He's within our price range. And I'm thinking, uh-oh. normally that would be a good thing, but we're still waiting on a quote from the other builder. And I'm like, what if they're the same? Now we have to choose a builder.
And even if they're different, you really don't want to pit them against each other.
Exactly. I mean, and so I called.
But it is business.
That's right.
I mean, at the end of the day.
I called the second builder, and I was like, look, dude, like, I didn't even know you were interested in quoting this. And he was like, well, basically, if he comes in high or whatever reason, this is where we would be. No big deal. And I said, well, what if he comes within budget and we go with him, I said, the last thing I want to do is make somebody mad. Like, I wasn't even expecting you to do this. Yeah. He's like, dude, it's nothing. Don't worry about it. It's, we got plenty. Everybody over here has got plenty to do. You're not taking any money out of my pocket by me not building a house. I said, all right, I really don't want to hurt your feelings, man, because you do half my income every year.
And this all goes back to relationship building and, building that relationship and being to the point where you can have an honest conversation with him too.
Yeah.
Like if you do shady business with this guy and then, he sees this as an opportunity to make money and to build another house, and you are looking at it from a business perspective, it makes it really hard to have this honest conversation, right?
Yeah, and that's going to come up later with the first guy's, the guy we originally got to quote the house. He came back with a quote that was lower. I mean, now they're two different houses. One's a barn dominium, one is a stick built. So it's nothing, when we put all the apples and oranges together, they were pretty much exactly the same.
Okay.
As far as, because one builder, we were going to do something that this builder wanted us to do, but the second guy, his people were going to do that, so we added a little call, that kind of thing. But when you broke them down, it was the same amount of money.
Gotcha.
And so I said, well, great, So anyway, we're going to let the first one do it, the original one that we had talked to. I told the other builder what was going on. He's like, yeah, man, dude, don't worry about it, honestly. So I talked to the first builder. He got a quote, and he was breaking down his quote, and he said, well, usually, we charge this much. They're cost plus.
What in the world was that?
I thought that was something you did.
That was some aircraft that flew over your house.
That was a motorcycle.
Was it?
Speed limit's 25 out there. I bet he was doing 150.
I just speaking as a former traffic cop, that was not 25.
No. Anyway, he's like, usually
he needs his own ambulance following him.
Yeah, he's about to get one. Usually we charge this much of a percentage. He said, but we talked about it. You've been good to us, and here we go. And I said, dude, I'm not fixing to listen to what you have to say. He's like, well, just hear me out. Hear me out. We're going to charge you this much to build a house. And I said, dude, I'm not doing that. Like, that seems like a favor, and I don't want a favor. You charge me whatever you. He said, dude, you're doing the cabinets. I don't have to have any conversation at all with the cabinet guy, with the homeowner about the cabinets. You're doing the tops. I don't have to schedule granite. I don't have to talk to granite. I don't have to go get samples. I don't have to do that. You're doing the paint. I don't have to call painters. I don't have to deal with them. I don't have to schedule them. He said, you're taking a lot of the load off of me.
Yeah.
On building a house. And he said, that's what it is. Take it or leave it. And I said, okay, fine. Again, we're going back to that relationship, because I do the same thing for them on every job. They get a different rate.
Right.
Right. And for all you naysayers that say, I'm going to make my money. They ain't no better than anybody else. Well, guess what? Do you know what another $30,000 on a home build is with a 7% interest rate over 30 years?
Right.
You have any idea the amount of money that I just kept in my pocket because he was like, look, dude, we got a good relationship. You're handling a lot of this. I'm going to be here every day. They're building it in the back.
Well, and it goes back to the adage of, like, would you rather have $1 a day or a penny a day for the rest of your life?
Exactly.
Like,
and
what has the best payoff? You want the best payoff, or do you want the most gratifying payoff?
Yeah, I'm definitely a long-term guy.
Yeah.
Give me somebody long-term. So
I mean, if I was going to die tomorrow, I'd say give me the $1, but I don't plan on dying. So
and hurry up and spend it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's huge news. Keep in mind, we've been dealing with house issues for 5 years. It started with septic and then went on. So It's going to be really nice to be way back in the woods. My brother came, and he's looking at doing the driveway and some land clearing, yada, yada. We're getting this thing moving. The bank, he was like, yeah, dude, y'all got a thumbs up. And like
How
I
close
said,
are y'all to demoing the house? Are y'all, I know that's been
couple weeks.
I know that's been a
Couple
problem, or not a problem, but a process.
Yep, I called now I could move the electric over to the barn because the barn's being fed off the old house, so we got to move the electric. And he's going to come in about a week, week and a half. He's going to handle that. I'd rather pay him. I don't have time to deal with it, you know. So
you're going to lose money either way, whether you take away time
money.
from the shop or whether you pay him. You're losing money.
Yep. So anyway, he's handling that. We got the water line that's going to have to go down there. A lot of stuff's got to get done. They're going to get the house because the driveway is actually going to cut the old house in half. That's where the driveway is going.
Okay.
So we got all that stuff figured out. The ball is officially rolling. We're getting contracts done and all this kind of stuff. Dude, that's so exciting. And the good news is, and I was telling Tammy, we're going to have a audio record of the whole house. But now we're not going to spend every podcast on my house. I get that. But we are going to give weekly updates. Hey, they got the framing done or this, you know. It's going to be a lot of content because this is my first time ever going through building a house, and I deal with people who build houses every day.
And it's lots of information for people who out there might want to build a house, like things that you run into, considerations that you made, you know, things that you've learned, you know, I mean, like making sure, you know, storage and, you know, TV blocking, you know, electrical outlet placement, like the little stuff like that you see that people are like, oh, I didn't think about that, you know. I mean, like crazy thing up here that's going on right now is like a garage pass through to a pantry. That's like a big thing, like to be able to put things from the garage into the pantry.
We're doing the opposite here.
Yeah.
And
What do you mean the opposite? What are you doing? You're putting it out in the middle of the yard?
It makes me so mad. These these architects, man. I'm telling you, don't get your feelings hurt if you're an architect, but you don't know nothing. You have no idea what happens in the real world. The last 4, 5, 10, 15, however many you want to go back houses, the garage, you pull into the garage with a bag of groceries, a coffee table, a TV, whatever. You can't get it in the house from the garage. You hit a hallway, and then you have to turn right and immediately turn left or turn right or go down this. You can't get a dishwasher, a stove, a refrigerator, a washer, a dryer. You can't 6 bags of groceries. You can't. We couldn't go in the house in the garage with a toolbox in our hand. That's how tight it is.
I've seen that. Yeah.
What are y'all doing, man? Like, why? You're going to be pulling into the garage every day not every day, but every week with groceries, Christmas presents. You know how mad that's going to make them?
It's because the cost per square foot has gone up so high on a building of a house that they're doing weird things with houses now.
It is
like it's
so stupid.
It's kind of like the subdivision I live in. Like my section is the second to last section. Then there's a new section, and like the cost per living or the cost per square foot has gone up from my section to the very last section. That like none of those houses back there have irrigation in their yard. Like little things like that because the cost has gone up so much that they had to find things to cut.
Yeah.
And I'm not an irrigation guy. Like I hate it. Every time I turn my irrigation on like once, and then I have to pay for it to be blown out again in the winter. I didn't know that was a thing until I moved up here. You have to blow. You have to blow your irrigation out in the winter, or it'll freeze over and bust it. And I'll turn it on just enough that I got to pay for somebody to come and blow it out. It's not something you can do with a little small. You got to have a gigantic compressor.
Yep.
To blow it out, but
those tow behinds or something.
But yeah, the cost per square foot has changed so much that the builders are doing weird things now. But
it's just, guys, we got to do better, man. I got to be able to get stuff in through it's the garage for crying out loud.
Right.
Dude, wait till you see our plans. Man, you can get a refrigerator in any room of the house.
Well, and hey, make sure if you're doing a garage, make sure your that truck will fit in it, because
No, we're not doing a garage.
You're not.
No,
You're
we're
doing
not
like
doing
carport.
that. No. No, not even a carport. We're parking out there in the yard.
Like a 2500 ain't fitting in many.
No.
I don't think I'll fit my. I don't think my truck fits in my garage. I mean, it's a two car. I don't know, and I don't know why they call them a 2-car garage. What they call a 2-car garage? What are you driving? Mini Coopers?
Yeah.
Like if everybody drives a Mini Cooper, you could probably get
Yes,
3
sir.
of them in there. But like my wife drives an Acadia, and I got the 2500. I don't even think height wise the 2500 fits in the garage.
Right.
More or less side by side. That ain't happening. And then lengthwise, that definitely is not happening.
No.
And I don't even have a long wheelbase. What's the 6'4" bed? Like I'm a shorter bed.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, so I ain't fitting in there.
That's just something that makes me mad. I don't understand it. We played with the design of the house where we have a double door going into the kitchen,
Yeah.
and then there's a wide door going in the laundry, wide door going in the front. You know, there's not a door in that house that's less than 3 feet. Oh, the kids have a little closet in their room? Boom, 3-foot door, man. I'm not dealing with it. I'm just not. Put a 3-foot door in there. I want a wheelchair to be able to get in every single room. I want to be able to get a freaking stove in the kitchen.
Yeah.
You know, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because what do? We can pull into the garage to unload cabinets, but these big cabinets. Remember last time we had to walk through the mud.
I still
'Cause
think
they
though
won't
you
go in
should
the
build it
house.
with one less bedroom than you need, so you can encourage one kid to leave. Sorry, Riley.
Yeah, yeah.
You're
I don't
first.
think she's going to take a lot of encouragement.
You're first on the list. I'm sorry for you, but I mean, you know, just go ahead and build it with one less bedroom, and that way, you know, you can start weeding the process.
But that's huge this week, man. We've learned a lot. We've learned a lot about forgiveness.
Yeah.
Because the issues that we were sold with the house were known issues from the previous person, and they were covered up with rugs and wallpaper and, you know, stuff like that. But we've learned to move past that. We've learned to just rely on, you know, God's timing, and hey, just relax, have a little faith. It's all going to work out. If you can live in a camper with your 3 kids and your wife, we were in that thing 6 months, you know, and which is not a complaint. I mean, we had somewhere warm and dry to stay, you know,
Right.
but still it stresses everything. But luckily, you know, we've always kept our kids. We've always homeschooled our kids. Our kids know about but Joseph we've been teaching Joseph all week about compound interest, straight interest, you know, by doing mock loans with him and stuff. And the other day, Tammy was in the car, and I said, Joseph, I want to borrow $100. He's 10. I said, I want to borrow $100. What's your you know, your loan details? And he said, okay, I'm gonna charge you 20% interest. I was like, man. I said, well, it is an unsecured loan, you know, so that's fine. And I said, well, how much is that gonna cost me? And he said, $20. And Tammy kind of looks at me, and I said, oh yeah, he's learning. You better believe my kids are learning this.
Yeah.
And I said, well, how many months do I have to pay it off? And we worked out the whole thing, and he understands now why getting money, you know, why getting money cost you money.
Can
You
you
know
come
what I
and
mean?
explain it to me?
Yeah, he probably could. But anyway, so my point is, our kids are with us all the time. They are there when we buy a car. They're there when we bought the house. They're there when we bought the shop.
Hey, speaking of, how did you guys buy a car? That was part of last week. Did you are going to look for Riley a car? Did y'all look or?
Yeah, we did look. She did fall in love with it.
Okay.
The price, he did come down off the price some. I made her negotiate that, which that was funny, by the way, because she didn't know I was going to do that.
Okay.
And so we took it for a toot down the road and got back. And, of course, I was checking brakes and steering and asking her all these questions, you know, and all that stuff. And he's in the family.
Okay.
So, you know, it's not like we just don't know him. But anyway, we got back and I said, okay. I said, y'all have to talk about talk about a price. And she said, well, and so the guy wanted, and I don't mind telling this, the guy wanted $5,000 for the truck.
Okay.
And I said, you know, she said, what should I offer him? I said, man, you know, offer him something pretty low. I'm not going to tell you what to, like, don't offer him $100, but take some serious money off, because you're going to go back and forth,
Yeah.
right? And so, man, I was so proud of her. And she goes, "Would you take 3,500?" And he goes, He said, "That's a little low."
She bat her eyes any?
Oh yeah, oh
Please.
yeah, and kind of kicked the dirt a little bit with her feet and looking down, and I was devil's advocate. I said, "Come on, Riley, it's got brand new tires on it, you know."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Well, what about 48?" And I said, "I tell him he's crazy. Look at the paint peeling off the back, man. Look at the
Right.
insides." But I was going back and forth with him, and so anyway, he said, "All right, well, what about $4,000?" And she just said, "Well, what do you think, Dad?" And I said, "It's your deal now. It's your money. You got it." I wasn't gonna let her do something stupid, but
Right.
But anyway, she quit at $4,000, dude. And I was like, "No, that's not how you had him at." Dude, you took $1,000 off.
You had him on the ropes.
You had him on the ropes, man. So then you come back at 36. He goes 39. Y'all meet at 37.50. But either way, $4,000 is a fair. I mean, it's a good little truck. I mean, there's nothing really wrong with it. So yeah, but now he knew he had to get the title in his name because it was in his daddy's name. Whatever. He was 16 when he bought it. That's why.
Okay.
So anyway, he said they put the wrong address on the title. So now he's got to go back and do that, and he said it'll be a couple weeks before he gets the title in. Then we're going to go down and pick it up. And she is just
ready to rip and roll in it, huh?
So when she gets nervous or excited, she says her legs hurt.
Okay.
So that like that tingling feeling that that you get in your legs or something like that. So she always says her legs hurt. And so I'll come home sometimes and I'll be like, "Riley, I got something to tell you." And she's like, "What?" And I said, "Man, it's huge. It's huge. You're not going to believe this." She's like, "Dad, you're making my legs hurt. Stop." And so she came in the other day and she's like, "Dad, my legs hurt." And I said, "Why?" She goes, "I keep thinking about that truck. I keep thinking about that truck." And she's more talks, with a harder accent than I do, if you can believe it. But she's super excited. I mean, I'm tired of taking her to work and I'm tired of dealing with all that. So now we've got it. The way she goes, she can make all right-hand turns. She doesn't have to cross two. She does have her license, but, we're teaching her the easy way to go where she doesn't have to cross traffic because it's down in Highland Home where she works.
But she's just barely 16, right? Like she's
barely 16. Yeah. She just got her license last week.
Okay.
Because we had a little mishap when she had her permit, and which I'm not gonna put that out. But anyway, we had a little mishap, and I was like, we need to practice a little bit.
I'm gonna need this story off air then. I'm gonna
I got 2 words for you. Pile up.
Okay. Well, I mean, my kid, my college kid, at 18 and a half, I mean, she had a car parked in a garage. So, I mean, it happens. I mean, kids do stupid things.
They're nervous, but anyway, that's all we have going on next week. Next week, I'm looking forward to it. It's shop week. I don't know yet. I'm really leaning towards tomorrow. I'm going to order some hardware, and I think we may do a cleanup day tomorrow.
Yeah.
I know that's going to cost me in the long run, but you have to do that.
It's important. It really is. I mean, just those shop days, getting a few shop projects done. That those shop projects, once you get them done, that they pick up and they gain you so many things.
Yep.
I mean,
we need a reset, man. There's crap everywhere, and we've been going nonstop. You have to do that.
Well, you're almost to the point too now where you've got employees. Like you almost need to start letting them decide, like, or have some kind of opinion or say into where they think things should be.
Absolutely,
because
we've done it.
Like they're starting to move to where their efficiency may be slightly different than yours. And in the grand scheme of things, what does it matter? Like if you can move things and it makes it better for them too, and you have to relearn, is it that big of a deal? It's probably not that big of a deal if it makes them feel like they're able to move smoother,
Yeah, and something cool that happened, this is a caveat, but something cool that happened was it was on a Saturday, and Trey went down to Troy, and I was here working, doing admin stuff or whatever. And I hear him down there. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" He went to Lowe's and he got these hooks, and they're screwed. They have screw threads on one end, and they come out and they turn up 90 degrees. and we had like some 3-inch screws driven into a post that we hang our nail guns on. You look at them wrong, they fall.
Yeah.
He went and bought the hooks and came in on a Saturday and put the hooks up, and he goes, there, now they won't fall. And I said, well, let me know, obviously, how much that costs. You know, he's like, I ain't worried about that, you know. And it made me feel good.
Yeah.
For, you know, in a weird way, I was like, he cares enough, and he went out and spent his own. And it's something small. I get it. He didn't spend $1,000, but he's like, man, you know,
He cared
here for the
enough
long
to
term.
contribute to the shop. Like,
That's right.
That means something.
Yeah.
Whether it's $5 or $100, they mean
Yep.
if they contribute to the shop out of their own pocket, that means something.
I really appreciated that, you know, because his mind is, let's improve, let's get better, let's make a bunch of small changes. That's going to make everything, you know, a lot more smooth. And he's got a mind for that, you know.
Yeah.
He's really is. He's geared towards efficiency. So it's going to be interesting.
I mean, next thing you know, he's managing the shop. He's got 2 guys under him, and you're just sitting on Easy Street.
Yeah.
You never know.
I wouldn't be able to take that emotionally. I don't think I'd be in here bothering them, you know.
Yeah.
But I want to bring.
Next thing you know, you're being called sensei.
Yeah, that's right.
I want to making fun of you behind your back.
Yeah. Oh, they make fun of me all the time.
Crusty Mitch won't let us do this.
That's all. Tammy said, I don't know how y'all get stuff done, you know, messing with each other all day, but I want to do something, and I'm going to surprise you.
Uh-oh.
Because I'm guessing we're wrapping it up. I don't know.
Yeah,
but,
I think it's about that time. I mean,
I want to, you don't have to do it if you don't want to. I know you come down here sometimes, but
I get a field trip. If I get a field trip, I'm down. What do we want to do?
I want to come up there at some point.
Oh, you want to come here?
Yep.
Oh,
And I want to spend at least one whole day with you while you do your job.
oh my God. I don't know if I can handle that. I don't know if I can handle being told I'm doing it so wrong.
Nope, none of that. None of that. I don't care if it's in your shop cutting materials. I don't care if it's an install. I don't care if it's meeting with a client. I don't care. I want to come up there, and I want to spend at least a day, maybe 2, depending on what we have going on.
Okay.
And I want to be your apprentice in your shop. No input from me. No, like, you need to be doing it this way or this is how I do it. No, I'm not interested in that. I'm interested to go in and spend a couple days up there in your shop doing what you do. You're running the show, free help, and see what I gather from that trip. That's what I want to do.
Oh man,
Now, if you
that
want to
seems
come
super
down,
intimidating.
no,
It
why?
does. I don't
Why?
know.
You're already doing it. You
I
don't
don't
do
know.
anything
I mean,
different.
because our relationship, for one, our relationship is not like that. Like, I don't know that I can handle you not here and like talking about it, and like not handle your opinion. Like, I mean, that's just not our relationship. It's just like for one of us to be silent. Like,
No,
I
it's
mean,
not. I'm not going to be silent, but I'm not coming up there to change anything that you're doing.
No, I know what you mean from that standpoint.
I'm-
but yeah, like,
Yeah, I'm interested. I think it would be a blast.
oh, for sure. For sure.
And-
So I just need a couple things. I need to know how many kids you're bringing with you.
0.
No kids? None?
No kids.
Are you bringing
Nope.
Tammy?
Nope.
Not bringing.
Well, I mean, I might, but
you
they're
might
not
get-
going to be.
You might get.
They're
in
not
trouble
gonna
if
be
you
with
don't bring
me.
Mom. You know.
Yeah, they can. Go and.
I mean, because if we're gonna do this, I need like 2 days of shop time, and then I need like a day at least. I need to take you to Nashville. Like,
Yeah,
we need to.
yeah, we can do that.
I mean, I know you're not gonna dance with me, but
No, not going to dance. I'm not going to dance.
I'm gonna make you dance with me.
And then, yeah, we'll see about that.
I mean,
I'm a lot of dead weight to pull out there and dance for, but I can tell you that.
no, but I mean, I need you to come up in enough time that like at least like a day of work, and then we got to have a day of play if you're gonna come.
That's
up.
fine.
I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
I'll
you
do
got to
that.
do that. You got to bring Mama with you so we can take her out and we'll go.
No,
get
we
some
can
good,
do that.
We'll cook some good food or go get some. We'll go get some good food. You
We'll
don't
go
want me
get some
cooking.
good food.
Yeah,
But I think
That'd be
that
super
would
fun.
be. I think that would be fun because,
It
like I
would.
said, we do pretty much the same thing. I mean, I guarantee you, I will learn a lot just from going up there and watching how you do stuff. Because you've already got me talked into buying a track saw.
or you're gonna be like, God, you were so slow.
No.
It took you all day to cut out one set of cabinets. Are you serious?
Look, Travis. Look, man. You got to change this.
I
Man.
mean,
This ain't good. You got to do this here.
It's 4 boxes. It took you all day to cut 4 boxes. Are you serious? Well, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like,
I think it would be, and podcast or not.
and then we could podcast.
You know.
No, then we need to podcast together that weekend.
While we're there, okay.
Yeah, that's what you need to do. So we need to do like a Friday, Saturday, and we'll podcast Sunday morning
That'll work.
if we can get up from Saturday night.
I will.
Which you don't drink as much as I do. So I mean, this is rung empty, and I've had a refill. I did manage a refill this week without spilling it everywhere across the table.
Now Chris cannot come. I'm gonna let you know that.
That's probably true. But
him in Nashville, nope, not gonna happen.
But like do a work day, a play day, and then we'll podcast together that weekend from the same location. And then we need to do it again in a relatively short, decent amount of time. But I come down there and we'll do the same thing.
Yep.
We'll work, we'll play, we'll podcast down there. I think that would be fun. I really do. Because I've been in my mind, I'm like, hey, we need to figure out a way. Because one of my best days that stands out in my mind in a long time is still the day that I come down there and hung out with you. That we worked on the lathe and we turned the tools and just hung out and just didn't have really an agenda for the day. I mean, we just kind of hung out and played in the shop, and that was. Yep. That was one of the days that, in the days of memory in the last, 10 years, that's one of my days that stands out. I mean, I still have the pen in my truck. Like, I mean, I still pull it out every once in a while. And like, I actually will not use it. It's weird. I don't want to use it because I don't want to use it up. Like,
and then lose it or
something. It's one of those things. Like I'm like, oh, if I use it, like it only has so many writings in it. I know, and it's refillable, right?
Yeah, it is.
It is. But in my mind, though, it only has so many things, and like that pen is attached to that memory, and it's one of those things. I keep it with me, and it's always in my truck, but I refuse to use it. Like it's a weird,
Now I've not used. You gave me a knife.
Yeah.
And it's in this desk, and I've never used it. It stayed in this desk, and also you brought me a cup.
Yep.
That
grizzly cup.
The grizzly cup.
Grizzly cup.
And it had my logo on it.
Yeah.
Now that, I'm telling you, I have just about wore a hole in the bottom of that cup.
I have mine that's the same exact cup that every day. That's my coffee cup in the morning. I drink 1 cup of coffee out of that every morning. The finish is being removed off of it in the shape of my mouth. I'm pretty sure. I don't know how much of that finish I've drank. It's probably a carcinogenic, but yeah, I have the same cup.
I just figured I would. I'm gonna pull this out real quick. I just figured that I would do that. I would surprise you with that, so I could get, your real reaction to it.
Yeah.
And I said, dude, that's gonna be. You know how much fun that would be, man.
Oh, it'd be a blast for sure. For sure. I mean, you'll be like you work in a crap hole, but it's fine. I mean, hey, you can have a hot lunch now. I have a microwave.
We can eat Hot Pockets, man. It don't make me any ham sandwich. It don't make me any difference.
I hear you. No, it sounds like a plan. We got to definitely put that on the books. We need to do that for like a milestone on the podcast. Like that would be a good. We need to pick just a milestone episode and lock that down.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be fun.
Episode 7. I'll be up there Tuesday.
Episode 7. Well, come on up. I mean, this room that I'm sitting in right here is empty. I mean, there's a bed. There's a bed in it, and there's nobody in it but me in the corner.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. That does sound like fun. Well, I hope you have a good week. I feel like we need to start wrapping it up. Probably people are tired of hearing from us, because we could do this for a long time. I mean, it's weird how hard it is to stop. Actually, at the end of a podcast after talking for 2 hours, like you would think that we'd be ready to stop, and I'm realistically usually not. I just feel like at this point that people are tired of hearing from us. But the good thing is, from this point moving forward, we have a medium for people to provide us information other than just comments. So if you think the podcast is too long, tell us at offcuts@thestileboys.com. Or if you think, hey, it's not that bad, we could listen to y'all, the conversation's genuine, just go until you get tired for that night, tell us that. Offcuts@thestileboys.com. Like, we're just trying to fill this thing out. I mean, we originally wrote this thing on paper at 45 minutes. That was when we put it on paper. I think we kind of targeted a 45-minute zone. And then as we went through the testing process, we realized how hard it is to stop at 45 minutes.
Well, we felt like we didn't even talk about anything.
Yeah, and have a genuine conversation. Like, I think we could have a... Now, I think if we sat down on Friday or Saturday and had a scripting session for a podcast on Sunday, we could script this thing down to 45 minutes pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what either one of us want to do. I mean, for one, I don't want to take the genuine conversation out of this and make it some kind of scripted conversation. I mean, if we jumped on here next week and we both had like really weird weeks and it was a 30-minute podcast, then so be it. It would fall at 30 minutes. We were tired of talking for that day. I mean, it doesn't have to hit the 2-hour mark for me to be satisfied, but it just seems like it's naturally hitting that 2-hour mark without a whole lot of work.
I looked up a while ago. We were at an hour 45, and I could have swore we were 15 minutes in.
Yeah, like I feel like I have a struggle with, like, during the recap session, like I'm trying to chop that down so that we can move into like real meat and potato stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope everybody found our conversation about just the employee relationship and how that works. And I hope everybody was able to relate to that in some sort of fashion, whether you've been an employee, whether you have employees, whether you're looking at onboarding employees, that it provided some kind of information to you, even if you completely disagreed with everything we said. And you're like, you know what? I listened to this podcast and these two idiots were talking about managing employees and I found it completely wrong and I'm going to do it this way. Okay, fine. We pointed out to you everything that you thought was the wrong way to do it and you're going to go a completely different direction.
Yep.
Whether, even if you disagreed with us, you found some benefit in what we said. Okay, so be it. I mean, that's fine too.
Yeah.
It doesn't
And
hurt
when your
my
employees
feelings.
start leaving in droves, and you may want to come back and re-listen to it.
I mean, maybe. I'm not saying that we're right, but I feel like, you know, that probably plays a possibility into it, you know. I mean, but we're having a blast. I mean, I look forward to it at the end of the week. This conversation is just such a decompression session for me. The ability just to hang out with my buddy for so long and just talk about things, talk about life, talk about the business aspects, because I think I do things right in business. I know Mitch thinks he does things right in business. And I think that through this conversation, we're either able to confirm or deny that we need to make changes, you know, in the way that we're doing things. Oh, it's time to get off the rails. I hope not for that guy, because he's really close to your shop. I hope he stays on the rails.
I'm just saying, to give you guys some perspective on what time of year it is or whatever, we just had that huge derailment in Ohio.
Yep.
Where there's, you know, black clouds and chemicals. So now I'm watching him go by on the camera, and now I'm like, hey, easy, buddy.
A little pucker factor, huh?
Right. Slow down a little bit. You know, nothing comes through here but corn and cars. So, you know, a little bit of rock every now and then, but I think we'll be okay.
Yeah. But it's been a blast, as always. Look, just as you're listening to this, just think, man, I can't believe they're 6 episodes in and they're just now about to go live. I'm going to go down.
Yeah.
I'm going to eat some delicious roast. I'm going to thank my wife for putting that together for me. I'm going to hang out for a few more minutes. I'm going to come back up here. I'm going to finish episode 1, and I'm going to get it submitted tonight. So as you're listening to the 6th episode, you think, man, they've come a long ways, and they've really worked hard to get it to the point that it is. And it's been a labor of love. I mean, it's been a lot of work, but it's been fun. It's been enjoyable. Yeah. Very little frustration, to be perfectly honest with you. I've been surprised, you know, that. And
we also have a level of excitement too.
Oh yeah,
that's helping
for sure.
You know, like we're a little bit more motivated to go deal with some guy online, doing artwork or, you know, whatever we need to do.
Yeah.
But
And
I'm excited.
And I'm perfectly fine if there's 10 people that listen to this consistently, and we get to talk to each other every week, and we never pick up a sponsor. Then I could care less. So what?
Yeah,
You know,
it's our podcast. We do what we want to do, but
Yeah.
you know, we do want to. We are going to listen to people who have ideas because we don't know. We're obviously biased to it.
or what you think we should talk about. I mean, if you're like, hey, I kind of appreciate your guys' perspective on this. What do you think about this? You know, we'll tell you what we think about it. We might be completely wrong. We may have to tell you that we don't freaking know. I don't know.
That's right.
I mean,
And it don't matter what. I mean, like we've said 1,000 times, it doesn't matter what business you run. Running a business, it has a lot of common forms, whether employees or not, or renting a shop space or working out of a garage. You still have a lot of common denominators, you know. And if you're just saying, man, I really wish you guys would cover this, we're either going to answer it or we're going to tell you we don't know. Or I'm not going to give out legal advice, obviously, you know. So
yeah, I only
you're
play
on your own.
play a lawyer in the movies.
That's right.
This is right.
But yeah, drop us a line. Let us know what you think. Let us know, you know, what you want us to do, what you want us to talk about. You know, how do you price a job? You know, how do y'all do that? Whatever. It don't matter what it is. Drop us a question. We'll address it.
Yeah, I mean,
because eventually we're going to start hounding you guys to leave a rating and to leave a review, and you know, all that stuff's really important because we need to get at least in the algorithm.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to ask for that subscribe button to be pushed, and you know, those type of things, because those are what keeps you going and keeps you at the, you know, progressively moving forward. Like I said, I don't expect to make, you know, I'm not looking to supplement our income or anything, so we can quit building cabinets, you know, but we want to stay in the algorithm so that we're staying relevant and people are clicking, and you know, and we're getting some kind of feedback back that somebody's enjoying this. And like I said, it could be 10 people that are enjoying it and they're finding some kind of value in it, and we're contributing to your life positively in some way. I'll take that. I'll take that all day long. No big deal, you know.
Yep.
Now 10 people consecutively tell us we suck. I might listen to that, and you know, we might just start having a FaceTime session each week and not recording it. I don't know, but
yeah, and we're still covering a lot of the. I was thinking about this earlier. We're still covering a lot of the basics of running a business. You know,
yeah.
And eventually we can filter things in. Like, you know, we got a lot of stuff on. Like, we're not even knocking stuff off our list, really. I mean,
we've barely even touched the list, to be perfectly honest with you.
So
like, there is stuff we want to talk about, but I still feel like we're in this relationship forming phase of the process where we're still trying to form a relationship with you as the listener, and that I wanted to feel like that they're having a conversation with us, even though they can't actively participate in it. But I wanted to feel like that they're part of, and that we're trying to provide information to them. Again, whether it's something they want to deny or whether they want to accept, you know, but it's information to chew on, and then they decide what they want to do with it.
And we'll have plenty of stories that come up. That's I'm looking forward to some of those.
And if not, we'll just make up some old stories from the past that are kind of funny too.
Boy, we got a lot of those.
I mean, I got
a lot of those.
We can always bring up a Goldschlager bottle, and that's a story in itself that we could talk about. I mean, you just never know. I mean, there's enough history between the two of us. We can keep you entertained if you'll just press subscribe and you'll continue to listen. I promise you. As the description says, you may laugh, you may cry, you may think we're idiots, but you will be somewhat entertained through the process. I can assure you that. And if not, then you can blame my mom, because my mom says that I'm funny, and I believe her.
Yeah, mine does too. She's always puffing us up, man.
Right. But man, I hope you have a great week. I know you're ready to move on to house number 2, or are you back house or front house? I can't remember. Back house now, and then I'm gonna get this laundry room knocked out so I can move on. And man, we're just looking forward to it. Feel free to follow us at Cat Scratch Cabinets on Facebook and Instagram, at Simplify Builds on Facebook and Instagram. That will let you see some of our finished work. We're trying to do better about maintaining our social media appearance and getting that kind of stuff posted so you can see what kind of work we actually produce. So you can say, hey, they got a great business philosophy, but their actual product is crap, or they've got a great business philosophy and they have a great product, or they have a great product but they have a crappy business philosophy. However you want to feel about us, as long as you're following and paying attention, I'm good with, you know. Because we're going to continue to do what we feel like is the right thing to do in the way that we feel is the right way to do it, regardless of outside opinions. And but that doesn't mean that we're not opening to listening to an outside opinion to see if it's something that we value and we want to listen to as well. We're still learning. I think if you shut down your ears and not go through the learning process, then you're shutting yourself out to the world. So, I mean, we're still learning, and we want to evolve our business, and we want to be good business owners. We want to be good employers. We want to be good providers to our customers. You know, because without customers and clients, then you don't survive, you know, in this world, you know. But so we're going to move on. So for all of those of you who finished and you now have an email address to participate in, and you don't have to rely on knowing a phone number to contact us, what is the word of the day to finish the podcast with? What you got?
Man, I didn't even know we were going to do that.
I mean, I just feel like we need to continue it at this point. We'll continue it for a little bit longer.
I'm trying to think. We're going to go chupacabra.
No, I can't even spell that.
Well, sound it out.
Okay, so email us the best form of the way you can spell chupacabra at offcuts@thestileboys.com, and that is Stile Boys with a Z. Because anybody else can do it with an S. That was as corny as I felt like it was going to be. Awesome. Well, buddy, have a good week. Tell the family we said hey. I hope everything goes well, and I look forward to catching up with you in 7 days.
I'll come back with 10 fingers.
That's right. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Have a great week. Be safe, and don't be afraid to get out in the garage, get out in the shop, get out in the yard, start a project, fire it up. If you're on the edge of starting that business, see what it takes to take the next step forward and take a little bit of leap of faith.
Yep.
Right?
Keep pushing.
Keep pushing. Get up in the morning and go to work.
Yep.
All right. Well, we thank all of you for listening. Take care, and we look forward to seeing you next week.